get on this right away. Hey, Dwayne, Robert, Tara, I see you guys. Um, Let me make sure. I'm checking to see if our embedded tutor. So just a quick couple of announcements, you guys, before we get started. Last week we met one of our embedded tutors. Her name was Yvonne Womack, and she will be with us on Tuesdays, every Tuesday of every week. But we also have an additional embedded tutor, and his name is Valor. And I think he's supposed to be joining us today. I see Alejandro. But this week we will be introduced to our first paper assignment. So I really wanted to get you guys introduced to the embedded tutors just as an extra resource. So we're going to kind of dig into it a little bit later into today's class, but I want you guys to kind of keep in mind that the purpose of the embedded tutor is specifically to support this class, and with them kind of sitting in on the class, learning the class culture, kind of being familiar with what the guidelines of the assignment is, they are better equipped to help you all. So wanted to introduce Valor, but if he pops in a little bit later, I'll kind of pause for a second just so you guys get an opportunity to meet him in addition to Yvonne. All right, so how was our weekend? Look, how is everything going? I know.
This was a weekend.
This was a weekend. There's kind of still a lot going on out in the world around us, in addition to, you know, what we may have individually on our plate. So it's been a little heavy. Look, anybody else feeling that way?
It's been boring to me. What's getting boring?
So you said
they trying to keep calling back into work.
Oh, they're trying to call you. Yeah, I think a lot of that is going to be.
But if they do call me, I'm just gonna simply tell them I'm not comfortable with coming in. Like at least not right now.
Absolutely, yeah. I was having that talk with my husband. Yeah, he feels the same way. He's nervous that he'll be called back in, and he has the same stance. He nervous
like,
about.
I wouldn't mind going. I wouldn't mind going next week, but this week, no.
Yeah, and at least being comfortable with like what steps are they taking, you know, to keep employees safe, you know.
I mean, honestly, I'm really not agreeing with the way they're doing things. I really don't agree with the way they're doing things, and it's really leaning me towards finding another job. To be honest, like I'm not liking the way they going about stuff. I don't like how they not pressuring customers to wear a mask for one.
Yeah.
So they can just come in the store. They can just come in the store, coughing, sneezing, doing whatever whenever they feel like it. And I mean, they say they're gonna have hand sanitizer stuff around, but who's to say they're gonna be using it? You see what I'm saying? But us as the employees have to wear a mask. No, but the customers don't have to wear a mask. Then what is the actual point at this point?
Exactly. Yeah, it's like employers need to keep their employees safe. So those are valid concerns, Jewel. Look, girl, look, we may have to work on an email to kind of send to someone, but those are valid concerns. Yeah, like before you return, you would like to know the answer.
And then on top of that, who's to say people not waiting on us to open up so they can loot? You see what I'm saying? Because I'm not gonna stop nobody. I'm gonna go and get my stuff, and I'm going to walk right out. Like, no, I'm not stopping nobody from looting. None of that.
Yeah. So it's like a compounded problem, right? It's like it's not just returning to work. It's how will that look for your health? How does that look with the social climate?
And then I also feel like I'm finna be doing more than what's listed in my job description. Like I feel like I'm gonna be doing more work.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I feel you. Look,
I towards finding another job. I am leaning towards it for real.
Yeah, and I hear that concern in your voice. So all of that is valid. But just like you have a choice, definitely ask those questions, you guys. If anything, I hope that kind of with the working through of our reading, even kind of how we dig a little bit deeper in our journal writing and writing, I'm hoping that you all are kind of feeling a little bit more empowered in speaking up as well, so if you have any concerns, if you're worried about, certain issues within the workplace, these reading and writing skills that we're working on, like they can help in those situations as well, whether it's penning a letter to your employer or, things like that. So all of that is valid concerns, and same conversations I've been having in my house as well. What else did I want to bring up to you guys? I had hi there, Yamna. And everyone else who's come in. Hi, Julie. I think Alejandro came in. I think I said hi to everyone else. Hey there.
Hey.
Hey, Robert. So another quick update, textbooks. I remember week 1 with all of the, hubbub with the issues with the textbook on our online bookstore. I took the Malcolm X Reader. For those of you who are still interested in purchasing the actual textbook, rather than
how can I get one of those?
Yeah. Okay. So what I did over the weekend is I sent the ISBN number, so the book information, to the online bookstore. So while they can't erase the previous book information, they can add this book information. So when you guys get a chance, go back to the online bookstore for this class, and the link to purchase this textbook should have been added. I think I emailed it to my department chair and admin last Thursday. I think it was Thursday or Friday. So hopefully it's up, but I'll double check on that as well. But so that's about the book. I do believe that link is up, but you guys kind of let me know as you go to the online bookstore, okay? Something else I wanted to add about the journals. First, let me apologize to everyone about the confusion that may be taking place when we do our daily journal writings. And with the Google Drive, I had attempted to set up a Dropbox that has only been, I want to say, like 25% successful. So what I've done is I've created a journal folder in my email inbox. So I am going to open that up to where when we have our, daily journal writings, that I'm perfectly okay with you guys. If you want to use the Dropbox, it's still available. But if you feel more comfortable emailing me your responses, I have a way of keeping that organized. So I want you guys to feel comfortable using the Dropbox or my email, okay? If you are going to be writing in an actual journal, let's say you're writing in the journal and you plan to take a picture of it and email it to me, really make sure that you guys are working to label it appropriately. So if it's journal entry number 3, make sure somewhere in the subject line or somewhere within how you have saved that document, it's easily identifiable. Because I wouldn't want to have like a major surge of journal emails that I would have to kind of shuffle through and organize. So if you guys could help me with that, then I'm perfectly okay with us emailing them. And I apologize about any confusion with that last week, because while I thought it would be easy from my screen, I know on our various screens we were seeing different things, and it wasn't as easy for me to explain as I hoped. So again, quick update, you guys are able to email me your daily journal entry. So keep that in mind. I'll talk about our new readings for this week in just a moment. I wanted to also mention the welcome videos. We had a assignment due last week where students were asked to complete a welcome video and then post that video onto our discussion page. And with that, make sure that you are replying to one of your peers' posts as well. So it was really kind of a 2-part assignment. You recording and uploading a video that answered several questions, and then responding to one of your peers' videos. So you guys did awesome with your videos. The few that I've viewed.
I had to email you my video because it wasn't posted.
Well, now I'm not taking any videos emailed. So the platform it has to be on is on the discussion board platform.
I need help sending.
No, I didn't email it today. I emailed it Friday. I couldn't post it for some reason.
So you emailed yours to me, Jewel. I'll look for it, but I know I saw yours to me, CA, and I emailed you back. Go ahead, Robert. What you want to add?
Hello. The website is messing up. It's saying I can't access anybody's videos. I saw 4 when I posted mine, but now I can't see any.
Okay, so let me go back in and open it up. Now I don't think you guys will be able to see anything because the parameters of the assignment was up until I believe Saturday at 11:59 at night. So beyond that, it shouldn't be up anymore because it's kind of past the deadline. But I can go back in and open it up. But moving forward, if you guys are struggling to do something, try to let me know before the deadline and not after the deadline, because it's not like a lot of help I can be after the assignment is due. So you want to really let me know if you're struggling to upload it. If you need assistance, you guys can either call the number, or we can kind of find some way, to discuss it. But moving forward, any assignment.
I want to say something.
Okay, hold on real quick, Yamna. Any assignment that is due, you guys first of all want to stick with that deadline. And if you are having trouble submitting it before it's due, try to let me know, okay? But after it's due is kind of in some cases, especially moving forward, it'll be too late, okay? So with Tamicia and with Jewel, I think you two said you had problems uploading. So even in following the step-by-step instructions that was on the assignment sheet, you still had issues with uploading it onto the discussion board?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Yamna.
Yeah. I was trying. I was making video and I trying uploading in Brightspace discussion, but I couldn't upload it on Brightspace. That's why I'm sending you on Google Drive, because I'm trying. This is very difficult, and then after when time is over and everything is disappear.
Yeah, because it was within a time period. So most things, you guys, where if it has a due date on it, then normally that assignment will shut off past that due date. So I did get a call. I want to say, I don't think I see her. I got a call from Jamisha on Friday, and she told me she needed a little extra time. So I extended it to Saturday, I believe, evening. But beyond that, if you're coming in after the deadline, you won't find it there. So if you haven't been able to post on anyone else's, if you haven't been able to see it, then it's because that assignment has gone down. I'll open it back up in this case, but just moving forward, you guys, if you struggle to turn it in or submit it, try to let me know before the due date, because anything that would be after the due date would be in those particular cases, it would be a late assignment.
Okay.
Okay.
I do want to add, it was giving me a hard time uploading.
I know. Look, I saw your video, Robert.
Yes.
But you did good. So in the at first, as you were trying to upload it, you ran into some difficulties, you said, Robert?
Oh yeah, yes. It like my classmate said, when I would upload it, I did it like 7 times, and then I would post it, and then it would be blank. It was just blank. So and I couldn't download it from a video off my phone. It was just complicated, but it has been happening.
Yeah. So, well, the good thing about that is hopefully this will be the last video one, as far as discussion. But I know since we normally have our cameras off, it was a wonderful opportunity for me to kind of see your faces, learn a little bit more about you all, and for the most part, now I think there were a few of us who may have struggled, but for the most part, I want to say I think like 13 students submitted a video. So for the most part, you guys were able to submit it. I think I saw a couple of students, Julie, I think I saw Jamisha. I think I may have seen Dwayne, who also responded to a peer's video as well. So it could be just our comfortability with using Brightspace as well, right? What did you
but
want to add, Yamna?
Yeah, but I was trying before due date. I'm starting before due date, but no, but I'm not good. I couldn't upload it. I'm
Yeah,
trying.
yeah, but the
I
minute you
think
had
1 hour.
trouble, so was it trouble with
I
your
have a
video?
lot of trouble. Yeah,
Was
no, I make then YouTube link and
okay.
I send you in Google Drive.
So you had problems uploading a YouTube link?
Yeah, on discussion board. I
Yeah,
was trying,
because the
but
YouTube link is just as easy as right-clicking, copying, and pasting, and then pasting the link inside your inside the prompt. So the
me and my
YouTube.
husband both trying. Me and my
Okay.
husband both trying, but we failed.
Okay.
Then my husband say,
Let
okay,
me.
you send in Google Drive.
Yeah. Now you wouldn't need Google Drive at all if you have YouTube. If you have the YouTube link, you wouldn't even need to add Google Drive into it. Let me I'm going to quickly run through this, and then I'm going to open up the assignment through today, so until the end of day today, and then this particular assignment, look, we're going to move forward, but let me
I'm
go
sending you
ahead.
email.
Okay, let me go ahead and quickly run you guys through the through the process, because we did this in class once, but I may have moved a little too fast through it. So let me just quickly show you guys the steps. And this is the steps as it is outlined on that assignment sheet. So now I know, hearing you, Robert, I think I understand that it was the file. It could have been the video file that you struggled with. And I can understand that. That's something that, depending on how large the file is, there's a lot of things that can complicate if you were having issues with your video or JPEG file. But let me show you guys where to find. I don't even know if you can find the assignment, if it's still there, because I think the assignment went down. But let me just kind of walk through the steps. So discussion board, and I do want you guys to get familiar with the discussion board, posting things there, because we will have a lot more assignments that will require use of our Brightspace discussion board. So anytime you are completing a discussion board assignment, you will come here under assessments. So you'll click on assessments and you'll go to discussions. So you see that here. All right, so we have that welcome video. So I'll click on this, even though I think this is going to give me the teacher view. All right, so from clicking on that, where you see start a new thread, okay?
Yeah.
So I'm going to click on start a new thread. Now, for you, Yamna, where I know you stated that you had a YouTube link, all you would do with your YouTube link is you would copy that link, and you could paste the link right here. I'll just type YouTube link, and it would just be as simple as copying and pasting it here, and then you would click post. So it wouldn't need to be any Google Drive or anything that you would have to upload additionally. You could just copy the link, add it into your thread, and then you would hit post. Now, if it is a file that you may have, I'm sorry, you guys keep messing with this. These are some really big earbuds. But let's say that it's a file that you have taken from your phone. So you have taken that video file from your phone, you are emailing it or sharing it with yourself. So you have to upload a particular file from a one you saved. You would click on this box with a triangle in it. And if you click on it, you see it says insert stuff. So I'm gonna click here. And from there, it will allow you to search or select that file. So let's say you videotaped on your phone, you saved it on your computer as my welcome video. You can select that. So I'm going to say choose file. Then it'll pull up all of my documents that I have. Let's say, again, I've uploaded it and saved it to my phone. I would select whatever it is, and then I would click on open. Hi, you guys. So you could do it that way as well. So whether you have it on your phone again, or whether you utilize YouTube, which I think is the easiest version, because YouTube gives you a link that you can simply copy and paste and just put that link here in order to submit. But for those of you who did upload it and get it uploaded successfully, did you run into any issues? Was there any kinks that you had to work out in submitting your video? Look, I'm shouting out. Look, Dwayne, Julie, Alejandro submitted his. A lot of you guys. Destiny, wait a minute. Destiny, yeah, Destiny did hers. I remember Destiny. Destiny was one of my first to do it. But anybody who submitted theirs successfully, did you guys run into any hiccups along the way?
No, I didn't.
No, after you sent how to do it to my email, it was easy from then.
Okay. Okay. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing just for a second so I can kind of clear this out. But I'll open it up again for tonight, but the cutoff will be tonight at 11:59. But I did want to bring up those videos, awesome videos. Look, I made so many notes. So I'm shouting out to Tamicia, not to be, look, I'm not making favorites or anything, but I think Tamicia, in your video, did you state that you are originally from Tulsa, Oklahoma?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you know I'm originally from Tulsa, Oklahoma as well?
Yes.
Oh, God, look, see that? So, and I think you pointed out as well that your nickname, like, did you say Lucy or Lily?
Both of them.
Yeah, like Lily is also my childhood nickname. So I was reading, look, I'm muting you. Yeah, but I was listening to your video, listening to Dwayne's video, learned a lot about you guys. Julie, I know Alejandro and Julie, you guys have something in common in terms of you're on a career path to be a pharmacist, pharmacy tech, and you know, really valuable profession. So glad that you guys are seeking that out. Robert, I learned about Robert. You know, Robert is here to make things happen. Destiny, I got to learn a lot about you. So I want you guys to know that with that information that you communicated in your videos, where especially you targeted your goal for the class, what it is that you are expecting to get out of the class. Really good specific answers there. Some of you said, I want to be a little bit more confident in my reading and writing. Quite a few of you said you just want to improve and strengthen your reading and writing skills. Oh, I didn't even mention Jennifer. Is Jennifer here? I don't see her. Her video was awesome as well. I learned a lot about her. I found out a lot of us have quite a few things in common. So if you guys have not had a chance to view the videos of your peers, definitely make sure you guys are going on, learning a little bit more about each other, this community of learners, because I noticed that we have a lot of similarities, even though our backgrounds may be different, our career paths may be different. A lot of things we have in common is a common goal, you know, to be successful in this course and to become stronger readers and writers. And I was really excited. I woke up this morning still reading and catching up with video. So have you guys had a chance to see my feedback? I try to respond to every video.
Did you wash your hands?
No. Look, I'm muting you, Tamicia. Did you guys get a chance to see my feedback?
No.
Okay, if not,
No.
try to take a look at that. I think anytime
Excuse
someone...
me.
Yeah, go ahead, Elias.
Yeah, I sent you an email about the video.
Okay.
About the video, yeah.
So did you send an email with your video, or did you have a question about the video?
Yeah, I tried to post it with the email, but the file was too big.
Oh,
You say you're gonna open again you're gonna open again the description?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll open it again, because I wonder if that was your issue as well, Tamicia. Was the file too big?
Yeah.
Okay, because I think when I try to
Yeah,
open
I
up...
explained. Yeah, this is the first time I hear you clearly.
Oh, good, because I hear you clearly as well, so good.
Yeah, now I'm using the audio from my phone, because
Okay.
last week the sound was very bad.
Right,
Very,
I remember.
very bad.
So good.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad you can hear. So
Okay.
I'll open back up that discussion board. I'll respond to your email as well with that. But if you guys have any problems while you're doing it, if you can call me from the contact number on the syllabus, I'll put it here. Let me put it in chat so you guys will have it in front of you. I did have students who were struggling. They reached out. We kind of walked each other. You know, I kind of walked them through it. So I'll help with that. All right. I really enjoyed the videos. I did. Some faces that I haven't seen at all. To see your face and to kind of hear your expectations and goals for the class were really, really like, you know, reinvigorating. So I kind of have a purpose. I know what you guys want, your goal, what you're seeking to get out of this class, and that is what I am working to make sure that we are able to obtain. All right, so did you guys have any other questions about that, the book, or about the welcome video? Let me make a note to open it back up. All right, and just moving forward, I don't want you guys to think that normally that's what I'll do. Normally, the time is within the parameters of the assignment. So I think we got the welcome assignment on Monday and it was due on Friday. So within those days is where let me know about any tweaks or any problems, but anything after that will be moving forward, not for this particular time, but moving forward. It's after deadline, it's after deadline, okay? So we really want to try to stay as close as we can within deadlines, just so I'm not grading the welcome videos 2 weeks from now. All right. Let me kind of dive into what it is we'll discuss today. I think the homework that I communicated in our last announcement, I wanted you guys to read. I said take notes, whether you're annotating the text, but read and attempt to take some notes of your reading. So that is really the main homework that I want to discuss today. And in the process of us discussing that, I want to actively review and study the reading strategies that we were introduced to in week 1 before kind of moving into, you know, the writing about the text. So you guys were asked to read the Malcolm X text, Learning to Read. And a couple of questions I want to ask before we kind of dive into some post-reading questions. From step 1, and let me go ahead and pull these up. Oh, I see what you say, Dwayne. All right, we'll talk about that too. Let me pull up really quickly our reading strategies, just to remind you guys of what they are. So normally when we read a text, we start by previewing the text. We take a look at the title. We're taking a look at the author because the author information is really important. We're looking at any change in the text, whether we're looking at bolding, underlining, sometimes bullet points kind of give ideas or breakdowns of the text. So I want to kind of see when you guys were taking these steps to preview the text, what did you get first out of the title? Out of the title, Learning to Read. With our previewing process, we're supposed to take a look at the title and determine what is this text designed to teach me? You know, what can I expect to learn from this? So as you guys took a look at the text, the title, Learning to Read, what did you infer that this text would be about? And we can be as
Literally learning to read. I thought that's what it was about.
Good. I was going to say, look, this isn't hard. So literally learning to read, right? I do want you guys to know that even though it says learning to read, the subject in the text, which was Malcolm X, he's kind of writing this narrative. He already knew how to read, yes. He just wanted to learn to read more effectively, right? You guys remember that from the text?
Yes.
So it's kind of like the exact same steps that we're embarking in this class. Coming to this class, you know, as students, you guys know how to read. You know how to read in terms of, you know, the words put together. But what we're looking for is more of strategies to help with comprehension, ways to kind of, if not remember, but ways to be able to work with or manage what you read, right? Because in the text, I believe Malcolm X had pointed out that he knew how to read, but I think he really wanted to learn more about vocabulary. It was certain words he wanted to use in his writing. But let's talk about that. As a step of previewing, you normally take a look at who the author is, right? And that's a strategy I want us to practice a little bit more, because with college level writing, who wrote it is sometimes just as important as what it is you're actually writing, because you need to know, you know, based on that information, what biases, if any, that particular author may have, what expertise or background that they may have that will make that information valuable or credible, right? So let's talk about, what do we know about Malcolm X? So the author is Malcolm X. What do we know about Malcolm X, his background or expertise?
Well, I knew he went to jail for burglary.
Okay. All right, what else?
I know he was a part of the Nation of Islam.
Okay, awesome, yeah. What were you gonna say, Jamisha?
He's an activist.
So we'll say activist. We'll say
He led a revolution.
he was an ex-felon. He was also Muslim. He led a revolution. All right, all of this.
And he was killed, right? He was shot.
Yes, he was assassinated. And a lot of that was associated with or tied to his political views, his role as an activist. I see Tara said he had an 8th grade education. And after reading numerous books, he learned no one wrote about African American history. Good. So you took that.
To Islam.
I'm sorry, say that again.
He converted to Islam. He changed his religion.
To Islam. Yes, I like that. So we say convert. All right, good. So you guys have some good background knowledge. Good leader. I like that, Anthony. So
which one?
we're talking about Malcolm X.
Oh, he was a minister.
He's also, yeah, so minister, Muslim, converted to Islam. All of that is important because we see that detailed directly in this text, right? Half of his motivation to want to learn to read or to become a stronger reader was so that he could correspond with, you know, Elijah Muhammad, who was his mentor, his spiritual mentor as well. So a lot of the connections you guys made to his faith, you know, we see that play out in the text as well. I see good leader and activist. I don't know if people know this about him as well. He was also a educator, even though he was, yeah. So in the line of operating as a Muslim, you know, studying his faith, he taught, you know, that as well. So he taught the teachings of Allah. He taught also ways of applying that knowledge to, you know, the world that we were living in. So a lot of people associated him with violence. You know, he was, according to, you know, how he was depicted in the media, he was seen as sort of this foil to Martin Luther King Jr., where one was nonviolent, the other was violent. But if you have read, you know, anything about Malcolm X, or, you know, have kind of studied him a little bit further, you'll see that most of his writings and teachings were actually not violent. It was simply taking a approach of protecting oneself. But yeah, a lot of the things that you guys pointed out here, 8th grade education, I like that you brought that up, Tara, because that as well speaks to why he knew he had to kind of relearn what he knew about reading and education as well. So I like that. That's a good start in terms of what do we know about, you know, the author. And I don't know if anyone mentioned this as well. He's a self-taught man of letters. So where Tara mentioned he had an 8th grade education, he considered his education to be the prison library, Norfolk State Library. So he's what I would call a self-taught. I call him a self-taught scholar, and we'll talk about that. All right, so all of this information is good to know because if he's giving us information about learning to read, and he's kind of laying out his process as a self-taught educator, as a leader in the community, as someone who is an activist and led a revolution, then his expertise or his ideas may be ones we find valuable in that, right? So again, the role of previewing a text before we really dive into it is just to kind of have that, the information in front of us, right? Not only what can I expect from this text, but from the person that wrote it as well, what expertise can I lean on? What information can I trust coming from them? So from someone who's a self-taught scholar, if he's giving me any information about how to read or how to collect or gather information, since he's been successful with it, I could trust his expertise, right? So there's a thing called context. Before you read, a lot of times we want to consider the context. Who wrote this? When was it written? And what was their purpose in writing it? So again, that pre-reading strategy of previewing is invaluable. It gives you a lot of information before you again dive into the text. So we talked about the title. You guys pointed out that from the title, it's just as literal as he's walking us through the steps he took to learn how to read, right? So do we all agree with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's a process that's laid out. So with that in mind, I want to drop a quick question for you guys in the chat box. Do you guys remember on Wednesday of last week when we had experience with the Padlet? Here, let me drop this in here so you guys will see. I know what I'm talking about. If you guys will click on this link, you'll find there's a question that I'm asking you guys, and there is a space for you to kind of write out your response. Let me pull it up for you on the screen so that I can just make sure we're kind of looking at the same thing. Let me go here. Share. All right, my screen isn't here.
Is there like I clicked on the link. So do we answer it like in the title, or do we? I'm not
You
sure
see, if you see like there's a pink box towards the lower right of your screen, if you click on that pink box, it pulls up like a text box for you to write in. Do you guys see that?
Let me.
Hold on, I'll share my screen.
Yeah, but it's like a title.
Yeah, so with that title, if you guys will just type your name, so just have your name in the title before you answer the question. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
All right, so you see, all right, once you click on the link that I just dropped in our chat box, it'll take you to this particular screen. And let me kind of go back to where I just pointed out. Now, if you can see my mouse, before you can type, oh, I see Jamisha, Ellis, and Julia, I see you guys there. Before you can type anything, you would have to click on this pink circle and it'll allow you. So you'll type your name. Now, here's the question I want you guys to consider. In order to improve his reading abilities, Malcolm X follows a series of steps in order to learn to read, right? List at least 3 of the steps that you either took note of or that you noticed in your reading. Name 3 steps. There's several steps he took, but in order, what did he do first in learning to read? What was the first step that he took? Okay.
When he just respond.
Yeah. I want you guys to respond, and then we'll kind of share out in a discussion. So I want you to take your time. Hopefully you have the text right in front of you, but what will definitely help you guys with responding to this will be your annotations, the notes you took. So anything you perhaps maybe underlined or highlighted, but in sequential order, in learning to read, his process, what did he do first? From there, what did he do second? And if you can come up with a third step, add that as well. So we're going to take about, I'll say 10 minutes at first. I'll see where we are. But let's go ahead and get into this, and we'll pick up our discussion from your responses.
Can you repeat again what I do?
Yeah, now look at, I don't know, can you see my mouse, Yamna? You see my mouse kind of?
Yeah.
You're answering this question. See where it says, in order to improve his reading abilities, Malcolm X follows a series of steps.
Okay.
List at least 3 of those steps in sequential order. So what did he do first in his process of learning to read? And then from there, 2 other steps. And where it says title, you want to put your name
about
first.
The story?
Yes.
About my review about story.
It's about the Malcolm X learning to read. The homework. I think that's the only thing we read for homework.
But my homework is I check you disappear last recap.
What's the question? I'm sorry again, Yamna. What's the question?
I check my my app, my Pearl. I check and you remove last review Wednesday.
Are you talking about so you didn't get a chance to do the reading? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because I
Okay.
don't know. Because I check. You check. You please check your Pearl.
It's all there. It was under week 2 module, or it's also under the textbook. So I gave you guys the page number in the textbook, and also gave you an additional copy of the text. So it was in week 2 module.
Just get on there.
Okay, hold on just a second. I just had a question about how do we get here?
Okay, I try.
If you go into the chat box, so if you go into chat box, I dropped a link for you guys in the chat. So you'll click on that link and it should take you here. Okay, but my screen has stopped. So if you have added, if anybody else has added, it won't show you right here because my screen is kind of froze just for me to share it. So how are we all doing? Are we okay?
Yes.
Okay, I'll let you guys work.
I'm sorry if you guys hear any noise in my background. Let me mute. Screen.
All right, you guys, let me kind of stop this share for just a second. I want to kind of be nosy and see what we have so far. Oh, Destiny.
Okay, something just happened to.
Uh-oh, I'm sorry, Robert. What happened?
I don't know. I see what your picture is over what I'm writing, so let me move it.
Oh, yeah, so probably, yeah, try to take the mouse and see if you can kind of move that whole screen out the way. I see. Oh, good. I can see everything that you guys are writing. Awesome. So I can get a good idea of where we are with time.
And today we're going to be writing a draft for this, right?
Well, we're going to start like the brainstorming process. So not so much draft, but at least jotting down ideas to get us started on a draft. So it is still part of the drafting process, though.
All righty.
You guys, I'll give us a couple more minutes on this, about 5 minutes or so left on this. I can tell you guys are still finishing up. So we'll see where we are in about 5 minutes. Oh, I see.
Oh, and Miss Cole, we don't
Yes,
need
ma'am.
Did you still need for me to send the annotations, or it's okay since I'm in class now? Or
Yeah, it's okay, because I really want you guys to use them for the discussion. So they're really, beneficial to you if you have them.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. It's looking like we are finishing up. Is there anybody still working? From what I see, it looks like we've all hit a period.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good.
One second.
Okay. All right. I'll give you a few more minutes. I'm sorry. Yeah, I owed you 5. I jumped the gun, so I'll be quiet for a sec. Mm-hmm. I'll go ahead and share my screen. Right, you guys, if you're still working, that's okay. We'll kind of take a few moments before we dive or jump right into it. But just from what I'm seeing, if you guys can see the screen as well, good. I like how some of you succinctly just laid it out, kind of summarizing what he did first, second, and third. There were actually quite a few steps that he took, but I kind of just wanted you guys to focus on those 3. But before we kind of dive into the process that he took in order to learn to read, I want us to kind of approach this like we would let's say an essay, where we know that at the beginning of this particular text, which this is actually an excerpt from the autobiography of Malcolm X. This is a particular chapter, but it still uses the format of a narrative essay, which the main goal and purpose of the narrative essay is to tell a story or a retelling of events. So we see that taking place here. And if we are reading this like an essay, then we know in the introduction, there's certain information we ought to be getting out of this text, right? It ought to be some kind of background. So before we lay out reasons, what led him to want to learn to read? What was his motivation? So let's talk through that first before we kind of, bang out the process. What do you guys from your reading remember? What motivated him to want to read?
In the beginning, because he knew he can read, but he'll be reading like passages and stuff, and he wouldn't get the full understanding of it because he didn't know all the words.
Right.
So
yeah,
he wanted to teach himself.
So he was right. So he was self-assessing himself. So he knew himself as a reader, and he knew where he struggled. So he knew I can read, but sometimes I have to read it more than once. Sometimes I'm not really getting a full meaning because I'm struggling to understand certain words.
And also he was frustrated about writing his letter.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So yeah, so he knew that he wanted to have use of vocabulary. So Jamisha pointed that out. Shania pointed out that he also was motivated because now he had a purpose, right? He was learning about, he was learning a little bit more about Islam. He was learning a little bit more about the teachings of Elijah Muhammad, which is the Nation of Islam. And so he was motivated or compelled to, confer with his spiritual advisor, his mentor. So it wasn't just that one day he sat and decided, oh, I want to learn. For many of us, a lot of us, even in pointing out your goals for the class, there's something motivating you to want to improve those writing skills, improve those reading skills. And you see that Malcolm X had that similar, type of motivation in wanting to learn to read. He wanted to make sure he was building his vocabulary, that he wasn't just mindlessly looking at words and didn't know what they meant. And he wanted to also be able to write a letter to his spiritual advisor. So he was motivated to take on this journey, take on this major task of learning to read, becoming a more engaged reader, right? What else? What were some other motivations at play that you guys saw?
He started to see like our disadvantages.
I say it again, Jamisha.
Once he started to see the disadvantages from when he was reading, he wanted to learn more about it.
Yeah. So he was feeling a little bit, he was feeling a little bit of left out, right? On the outside, right? He had so much ideas, so much he wanted to say that he struggled with what's the right word, to use. And in prison where he was, I don't know if you, go ahead. Is that Jamisha?
That was me, Shania.
Go ahead, Shania.
I want to say one more thing. And he also, as he, while he was learning how to read and everything, it led him to want to learn about Black history more, and basically find people who went through Black history.
Right. So through his process of learning to read, he found that not only did he find out that it opened up a whole new world for him, right? Keep in mind, he's in prison, right? So through the process of reading, he's able to kind of explore, if you will, or lose himself in these other worlds. So he was really motivated and excited by that. But he also found a preference in what he read. There was a lot of things he read in the prison library that he had never learned before. So what I really like about this text is that kind of seeing Malcolm X's discovery through the process of reading, he became hungry for the information. He especially liked reading about African American history because he was deprived of that in his own education. I don't know, do you guys remember reading where he stated, if this is what I would have been reading in school, if this is what I would have been learning in school, like it would have been, he felt like he would have been a lot better student. He would have gotten a lot out of it. So through his motivations, he was able to, I want to say, become a more stronger reader than I want to say he could have gotten in the traditional realm of education, in that he was kind of able to seek out, the type of learning or subject matter that he wanted. Good. Did anybody kind of pick up the culture in prison and how that shaped his motivation?
Well, I'm sorry, what did you say, Ms. Cole?
Did you kind of peep or notice the culture in prison, how they treated a person who was well read or had a strong vote?
Yes, I noticed that. I actually liked that because it seemed like they held them like they were celebrities.
That's what he said. Yeah. He saw how people in prison were treated who were well read. They were respected. They were treated as celebrities in a way. People would come to them for advice or for information. So, he's really smart. He noticed that the what I can call the kind of like the caste system, right? Who's on top and who's on bottom. And he noticed who's on top is normally the well-read people, those who kind of have the vocabulary and the knowledge base, right? They are the ones who would engage in debates and discussions that would have everyone else kind of enthralled or captured by that. So he noticed that well-read people in prison were like the celebrities. And in reading that, the way I connected with that as a teacher is what I noticed sometimes with especially young people, previously when I used to teach high school, being smart or being the one to answer all the questions, that sometimes was not seen as popular, right? If you were, in some cases, if you were like, let's say the person always raising your hand, there was somewhat of a negative stigma to that where you would maybe be called, let's say, a nerd or things like that. A know-it-all, right? Did you guys see that culture in school when you were in school? Like, sometimes you may know the answer, but it may be more cool to not speak up or...
Yeah.
Well, around the time when I was in like high school and stuff, I didn't really get that. Like everybody was engaged.
Okay, yeah, but definitely, let's say maybe then grammar school. Did you feel yourself sometimes maybe fitting in with the crowd where you know the smart
like
kids are the
school,
not so cool kids? So you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, I noticed that with his environment. He was shaped by his environment. Even though it's a prison environment, it still in some way or another motivated him to become a stronger reader. So I thought that was really interesting. I like that a lot. All right, so let's get to this question here. What you guys laid out here. In order to improve his reading abilities, Malcolm X follows a series of steps. And I asked you guys, what were those steps? And I see a lot of you identified that first step appropriately. Because Malcolm X was motivated to increase his vocabulary, and he was motivated to get the most of his reading, and a lot of times what he struggled with in his reading was vocabulary. He was very targeted in his approach. So the first step that he took in learning to read was to go straight to the dictionary. He wanted to learn the vocabulary. So he read the dictionary. I see you guys, some people say he began to use a dictionary. I see getting a dictionary to study and learn words. He picked up a dictionary and wrote out all the words without skipping. He learned to improve his reading abilities by grabbing a dictionary. Good. So you guys, it looks like, and let me kind of move my, started reading the book. Jewel, he got a dictionary to learn and write words. Good. So the majority of you recognize that first step, what he did first was he got a dictionary. And rather than just kind of reading the dictionary blindly, he started taking notes. So he took out, I think they said he had a tablet. So I got to remember what year this was in. So a tablet was like a small chalkboard. So I want you guys to imagine what he's doing. And the fact that he is either, whether it's a tablet or a spiral, so I guess he could also mean like a spiral. He began to jot down the dictionary, starting with A, right? Aardvark, I believe, was one of the earliest words he wrote down.
Yeah, it was.
That. So he would write the word, he would write the meaning of the word, and he did this for the entire dictionary. So I just want you guys to know what type of commitment that takes, where we can normally, in today's technology, where we could, let's say, perhaps copy and paste, we can kind of look at that. He felt like the way for him to really learn the words was to take it beyond just reading it on a page. He wanted to make note of it. And even though we are utilizing a reading process somewhat similar, I do ask you guys to annotate, take notes. I like that Malcolm X brings that up here because it is kind of part of the process of studying the information, familiarizing yourself with the information in the text. So first step he did was he started with vocabulary. If I am going to read effectively, I need to make sure that I know the meanings of the words. So he wrote those words out. he said the first day to write out the words under A, he said it took him an entire day, right? I think that's what I read. But yeah, so he took on this major undertaking. All right, so what did he do next? Let's see here. What did you guys say? So I see where you said he copied words from the dictionary. Okay, I think we can make, that could possibly step 2. Some of you said he got a dictionary and wrote the words as step 1. So what do you guys think is?
He started to cite it.
He started to cite the words. So yeah, I see where you guys say that. He started to cite it. He began to use them in his everyday life. So when you say he started to cite it, do you mean he started to make references? He would use it in his writing, or like, what do you mean when you say cite?
Because it actually said in the thing that he read it aloud too.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. So not only is he writing it out, he's then also saying it aloud as well. And we saw his study process. Did you guys see how he would study? After he wrote the dictionary words out, wrote them out, citing them to himself. Again, this is a process of study. So he doesn't want to just read to get through a text. He wants to know what he is reading. So he's very intentional in what he's doing before he sits down to read. That's strategies that I would like us to consider as well through previewing. What am I doing with this text? What am I looking for? What is this information designed to teach me? So he's very intentional. Then after he writes the words out, he then attempts to use it, whether he's using this new word in his letters, where I see you, Jewel, he learned to use them in his writing. Yeah, I see where the rest of you guys said he used this to help with his writing, writing each word, learning its meaning, reading books from Norfolk Prison. All right, good. So citing it, using it, he emphasized more on words, right, that he didn't have full mastery of. Good. All right, so what did he do after that?
He said he was going to classes and stuff in the library. It was like when Harvard schools and stuff like that would come there.
Yeah, now he was really, and he pointed this out, he was lucky to have use of the prison library that he had. He said because a lot of the texts that were in the prison library were donated by Ivy League schools. So I think he named out Harvard, he said Dartmouth. So he was getting some of the textbooks, a lot of the history books from these Ivy League colleges. So he was aware of the wealth of information that he was getting from his library. He considered the library his classroom. That is where he would go. He would read, and he would be in discussion with other people as well. So where you mentioned Jamisha, somewhat of a class setting, he did that as well. Now, what did he do on his own individually? Did you guys see where he talked about he had to establish reading habits? And I'm kind of was looking to see where you guys would say that. I see where you say he would go to libraries to read. I see that, Shania.
Also,
go ahead.
It also mentioned that he, I think he discovered philosophy and tried to like touch all landmarks that had to do with philosophy development.
Yeah. So before he could really get into what he was interested in, he kind of had to establish reading habits. So these first 3 steps that I'm asking you guys to recall, what you're really recalling is the habits that he put in place in order for him to become a stronger reader. Vocabulary, he wanted to make sure he had a strong hold on that. Then he began to use the vocabulary, whether he's reciting it out loud, using it in conversation or debates on the prison yard, whether he is putting them in his letters. He's working out a process of study. He then talked about how now that he moved through the dictionary, now he's reading books, and he's reading books of all different genres: philosophy, history, fiction and nonfiction. But in the process of doing that, he is kind of developing what I call this thirst for it. So you'll see with each new step, he says, I was fascinated that I went on. So you kind of see the motivation that's in between the lines. He's fascinated. I'm interacting with the world I never had access to before. I'm learning about topics that I've been interested in, but never had the opportunity to learn before. So we see through his process how he's motivated. Yeah, go ahead.
So basically, reading was a challenge for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it started off as something that was a challenge, in that he would read, but he would say he would never really fully understand what he read. So it was a challenge in that in some cases he couldn't even talk about what he read. So he wanted to be able to engage in these conversations or discussions. So
end it.
But I'm sorry, say it again, Jamisha.
So it's like he just couldn't comprehend it.
He couldn't comprehend it, right? And that's what I pointed out to you guys from the beginning, where we said learning to read. It wasn't that he didn't know how to read. He knew the words on the page. He could get through it. He couldn't always comprehend what he read. So there was a comprehension process that he identified was through him not knowing the meanings of most of the words. So you see there's an engagement in it. He wasn't just simply reading and then, oh, I don't understand it, so moving on. He wanted to understand it. So that's what sparked this, what I call self-education. This is a process or a journey on self-education. He's learning.
So he had to basically make it through his challenges.
He had to make it work for him. And without the guidance of an instructor or a teacher, this is what I find just so impressive about it, is he had a self-awareness that he was aware of his why he wanted to learn to read, what it meant for him, what it would help him to do. Just like I know you guys know that as well from watching your videos and discussing your goals. That self-awareness is important. Too many times as students, we're kind of looking at it as, well, the teacher has the information and it's up to them to kind of give me that information. But as we kind of make the move to college, or especially as we begin to prepare for college level reading and writing, you have to make yourself a part of that process. So you have to look at what motivates you. What are you attempting to get out of this information? How will this information help you? So what I like about this text is, it isn't just a step-by-step process of how he learned to read. It is infused with what motivated him, a strong self-awareness. There was something he was trying to accomplish. It started off with, he just wanted to write a letter to, Elijah Muhammad. That's what it started out as. But as he embarked on the process, as he embarked on the journey, then it turned into, well, I'm learning about all these different worlds, views, history, philosophy, these different ways of thinking and being. And it kind of sparked an appetite for him. And in reading this, you can just almost kind of hear through language how he's excited, how he's kind of giddy about, moving on to the next book. And I think it comes from a place from being self-motivated, from being aware. He knew that what he was looking for, he could find it in books. And a lot of it too was so that he can kind of operate in this new world he found himself in prison, right? The currency was knowledge. What do you know? That people valued you based on what did you know? So we see a process of adaptation as well. He's adapting. And in terms of the steps, so we talked about the dictionary. Did you guys see how even after they would turn the lights out, how he would read through the little small light at the, yeah. Again,
it just shows he was dedicated.
It shows that motivation and dedication, that overall commitment to what he was doing. And, just reading a lot of Malcolm X essays, he wrote an essay about one of his biggest regrets. I think it was like 1960, a couple months before he was assassinated. And he pointed out that one of his biggest regrets was that he wasn't, educated in one of the finer institutions. He felt like he would have been more of a credible voice, I think, if he had traditional education. And when I read that, I just want to, I wish he was alive to say, you have a more profound and pure education in the fact that it's like his education came from a source of he wanted to learn this. You know what I mean? It's not like he was being reinforced with a grade or a GPA, or at the end of this you'll get a job that will kind of help you economically. He had none of those advantages or benefits to learning other than learning for learning's sake. So his education, this self-education, it coming from a place of motivation, is very inspiring. You know, as a student, a lot of this reading I did as students, and it helped me. It inspired me to motivate myself through education in the same way. Any subject that a lot of times we're not interested in, because I would normally shut down if it's, let's say, like biology or topics that I just wasn't necessarily interested in. In learning more about his personal motivations and committed just to learning, it inspired me to, okay, whatever this topic is, what can I get out of it? What can it teach me? How can I take this information and knowledge and, you know, build from it? So it's more than just learning to read, right? We kind of see that it takes it a little bit beyond that, right? What did you want to add? I heard someone.
That was me.
Okay, go ahead, Shania.
So basically, his self-education.
I can't really hear.
Yeah, Shania, you started going out right towards the end.
You can hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. You good?
Yes.
Okay, so basically his self-education inspired him basically about world information.
Yeah, it started off with the letters that he wanted to write, but through the reading, once he was able to know and comprehend what he was reading, it was almost that he couldn't get enough. I want to say, didn't he say he almost read almost every book in the library?
Yeah.
On all topics, on all subjects. He said he even read books on architecture, physics, chemistry. So, but once he knew how to read, he could read anything. And he became, I think, intoxicated with just the gathering of knowledge and information. You can see it. The language he uses, where he said, I woke up the next morning thinking about those words. He's waking up thinking about learning, thinking about what he's learned. You know, and I'm just kind of picking up little blurbs from each paragraph. He said, I was so fascinated, you know, that I went on. So just to see that term, fascinated. He said during his time in prison, he guessed he wrote 1 million words. I see where he says, you couldn't have gotten me out of books with a wedge. So he was so into what he was doing. He said months passed without my even thinking about being in prison. So books were kind of giving him this escape, taking him to this whole new world. Let's see. He goes on to say that I read more in my room than in the library itself. He would check out a lot more books than what was permitted. So not only are we seeing his steps, you guys did a good job of laying out his steps, but we also see the motivation, the curiosity, the commitment, like somebody had mentioned earlier, that he had to gathering and learning knowledge. So what were some specific readings, if you guys can just kind of remember maybe some supporting details, after he gave us the introduction about the background, what motivated him to want to learn more to read, after he laid out his steps of copying the dictionary, rewriting those words, and then using them in his correspondence and discussions, what were some other details in the text that he mentioned? What were some readings or some things that he learned, not only from his reading, but I think he talked too about Mr. Muhammad's teachings. What did you guys remember from the details of the text? We know he liked learning about history. What else did you guys remember about books that he read, information that he gathered? Give me some details.
It was one of the books that I had. I saw that he read Wonders of the World. I actually wanted to dig into it and just to see what it was about.
Yeah, he talked about Wonders of the World.
Good. Yeah, he was.
Go ahead, Robert.
Okay, he was more interested in the atrocities of the world, from, you know, otherwise being something like what's going on today.
Yeah,
Man, he was relaying it back to Elijah Muhammad through his writings, and you know, that sparked more interest for him to delve outside of that to see how many other people that this has happened to, like China. And I didn't know about China, but yeah.
Also,
and Miss Cole.
Yeah, go ahead, Shania.
He learned about Carter G. Woodson, about his the Negro history that basically had the black slaves was brought. I mean, before the black slaves was brought into the United States.
Yeah, go ahead. I see your hand, Elias. Go ahead.
Yes, in the text they mentioned whitewashing of the history.
Yes, good.
Like, yeah, like all the books in the library is they talk about history through the white people eyes. Like,
yes,
this is whitewashing, right? This is what that means, whitewashing.
Absolutely,
right?
and yes, and he mentioned that specifically to Elijah Muhammad. So that that was brought up through additional teachings, you know, through his spiritual mentor. So kind of like what you pointed out, Robert, he was even more, you know, interested in these particular readings as he was being validated through his discussion and what he was learning. I like how he connected it all back to his what he had learned previously. He was like, wait a minute, I never learned this in school. They never talked about this. So it pointed back to, like you mentioned, kind of the whitewashing of history. And once he knew that, kind of once that veil was lifted from his eyes, then he started out, like you mentioned, Robert, history, digging into history and looking at the atrocities, you know, that not only people of color, you know, have suffered, African Americans, the indigenous people, but he also saw that it happened in on almost every other continent, you know, right, in almost every other area. So he was getting that history, he was getting that background knowledge, and it was just kind of really it was like feeding this, you know, this appetite he had on wanting to collect this knowledge. And when you come from the background or history that Malcolm X came from, now just keep in mind his father, who was I believe a Baptist preacher, he was murdered by the Ku Klux Klan, so he lost his father at a young age. His mother, she ended up, and I believe his mother, she was an educated woman, but she ended up having a nervous breakdown because due to the death of her husband, she started kind of, you know, losing property. They were taking the children, I believe, and the children were placed in foster care or with relatives. So he saw pretty much the demise of his family through racism, through certain institutions in place. So for young Malcolm X, this knowledge that he was getting was reinvigorating, right? It pretty much changed the trajectory. It changed his path. You mentioned early on, Robert, that he was an ex-felon, right? Very few people remember him as an ex-felon. Like, even though he was, yes, they remember him more so as that activist, that, you know, that historical figure who was a part of, you know, the civil rights or Black Power movement, founding, well, I'll say one of the earlier pioneers of those movements, right? So his reading that took place in this prison, based on his habits of reading, the knowledge that he gained, it pretty much is what put him on his path, you know, as an activist, as a leader, all of that. So we see that in what he was reading, Atrocities of the World, Wonders of the World, this realization that history isn't the way it may have been told, and kind of seeking those truths out. He considered himself a truth teller, and a lot of that information he gathered through his reading. So good. What else? What else did I leave out? I see Wonders of the World, Stories of Civilization. Shania, you mentioned Carter G. Woodson, W.E.B. Du Bois. What else? genetics. He talked about findings in genetics. That was important too, because at the time that he's in prison, there was a major movement in the field of genetics. Look, I'm trying to think, how deep do I want to get into this? But
so what it had to do with white man had been created led me to finding in genetics. I was confused.
Because the basis of racism, as we understood, or as he understood it at that time, the argument was that one group was inferior to the other based on genetic makeup, right?
Oh.
It's just simply not in one what is in another. So his studies of genetics allowed him to debunk a lot of those lies / myths that were being, perpetrated. So if you've ever seen Malcolm X debate, like, he drops history, he drops facts, but a lot of it is rooted in his research. So it's interesting that he would look at that, because that was a major argument at the time. Black people are more predisposed to these jobs or these positions because their brains are small. Genetically, they're not intelligent enough, right? So I think that was important, or important reading for him, because it allowed him to kind of shatter some stereotypes, some myths, or, just some falsehoods. So he's kind of arming himself with information. That's another way of looking at it as well. So if you ever hear people say, like, it's in my genes or things like that, which I've heard our president say that on more than one occasion, it's kind of this nod to these ideas that a particular group are made a particular way, with some being more genetically superior than the other. So I think he got into that because of those were ideas that were being espoused at the time. He talked about the story of Oriental civilization. So yeah, he got a lot into that, the history. I like that the excitement when he learned that African history, African civilization, and that a lot of what he had been told, kind of what we pointed out with the whitewashing of history, a lot of it had been false. So yeah, reading, it invigorated him. I think it boosted his self-esteem. I think it only increased, what he was able to kind of learn and pick up from his reading. All right, look, y'all see, I get a little bit excited with this, so I may go a little bit deeper into it. But just to read you guys this final paragraph, I'm gonna close out this discussion. So let me see. He said 400 years of Black blood and sweat invested here in America, and the white man still has the Black man begging for what every immigrant fresh off the ship can take for granted the minute he walks down the gangplank. So that was just me picking up. He said, but I'm digressing. So you guys see where he's aware that he's getting a little bit off topic and learning to read, but he goes on to say, when asked about what college did he go to, he said, I told the Englishman that my alma mater, and that simply means the institution that I graduated from, was books, a good library. Every time I catch a plane, I have with me a book that I want to read, and that's a lot of books these days. If I weren't out here every day battling the white man, I could spend the rest of my life reading, just satisfying my curiosity, because you can hardly mention anything I'm not curious about. I don't think anybody ever got more out of going to prison than I did. In fact, prison enabled me to study far more intensively than I would have if my life had gone differently and I had attended some college. I imagine that one of the biggest troubles with colleges is there are too many distractions, too many panty raiding, fraternities and bula and all of that. Now, you kind of tell that he's just going off his ideas of what college is, okay? He goes on to say, where else but in prison could I have attacked my ignorance by being able to study intensely, sometimes as much as 15 hours a day? So that's his conclusion. But what I like about it is that just what we learned about concluding paragraph, he's kind of reiterating his main point. And that main point is that through reading, through study of what he read, he was able to, improve or enrich his life. So it's not just it isn't just about his process of reading. It's also about what he got out of that reading that's so important. So as you guys were reading this, just from your annotations or your notes, did you find yourself doing a lot of, let's say, head shaking, or if you were actually annotating or taking notes, jotting down anything that you connected with?
Yeah, trying to learn read without without not understanding, reading to comprehend, basically.
Right. Okay, good. Yeah, so you picked up, he laid out a blueprint for reading to comprehend. Now, I am aware that, we may not begin with copying the dictionary word for word, right? I'm aware that in some cases, we don't have the access to a library that he had, at his convenience. But I do want us to kind of keep in mind the steps, the process. You have to know what you're reading. So you have to be familiar with words, but I won't even say you have to know every word. As long as you are motivated to, when you come across a word you don't know, to look it up, to jot that information down. So yeah, so I'll ask that question. Did you guys jot down any new vocabulary as you were reading this text? Okay.
Yes.
So throw out some vocabulary that you guys, if you can just throw out a word. What was a word that? I'm sorry, say it again.
It's spelled F-R-A-I.
Oh, frailty. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Frailty. I like that.
Feigned.
I'm sorry, say it one more time, Robert.
Yeah, I got that one too, Robert.
Feigned. Yep.
F-E-I-G-N.
Yes.
Okay, got that. Okay, good. I like that. What else? Chancelleries. I see that.
Okay, I missed that one. I don't think I saw it. Because I don't know what that is.
See, but it'll be different. Yeah, I was gonna say for each of you, it'll depending on what word you found unfamiliar, it would be, the word that you would pick up on. Oh, but I like that. Frailty, feign, chancelleries. So you guys did look that word up as you were reading?
I didn't. I haven't looked it up yet, but I'm going to.
I see eloquent. Okay, that's okay. Look, we're gonna look it up just really quickly. Just because I want to show you guys something when you look things up. What else do we have here? Okay. All right. Let me show you guys something. I'm going to pull up. Thank you for what you guys did with the Padlet. I'll keep this so that I can give students credit, your in-class participation for doing that. But thank you guys. You did a good job with that. Let me show you really quickly what I do a lot of times when I come across things that I read, and if it stumps me, if I have to look things up, because I've been doing that a lot lately. I've been reading books lately on like kind of what's going on around. I've been reading books on protest. I've been reading books on a lot of what take words that have been thrown out, in terms of defunding terms in turn. I see engrossing. What's this, Anthony? I like that. There's a term, I'm teaching an African-American literature course in the fall, and there's a term that I want to introduce, Afro-pessimism, as a movement in literature. So I've been reading a lot, and some of this word, I've been having to look up a lot of words. So I want to kind of just show you guys quickly what I do, because in looking the words up, I make note of them. I'm kind of building like a mini dictionary myself, so that not only can I use the word in conversations or discussion, but if perhaps I need to recall it or look, revisit this information, I have it right in front of me. So let me show you something really quickly. And I'll use one of the words that you guys threw out.
I have a question for you, Ms.
Sure, go ahead.
So I know, like, when I was in high school, like my reading level was, well, in grammar school, my reading level was at a high school like level.
Okay.
But my writing has always been like lower. But I noticed, like, since being out of high school and not being in school, like, I don't know, like, it declined. Maybe I'm not so interested in reading as I used to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to know, like, what are some things that I can do to like improve this? Like, I want to be able to have conversations,
right,
and not have to second guess myself, or
mm-hmm.
you know, when I'm writing a letter, I want to know that it's strong, you know?
Right. Yeah. So that's like similar to what Malcolm X had. He did not want to write a letter and kind of come across as crazy, right? So he wanted to know what he was talking about. So you said that you felt like you have strong reading skills. It's just the writing. What I would recommend is somewhat what we're doing with our daily journals, but practice writing often, because a lot of times too, I think what happens with students or people in general, they overthink formatting, punctuation, or things like that. Where what I want us to kind of start gearing to is just focus on your ideas, getting those ideas out. And I told everybody from reading your diagnostic, oh, we have the ideas, we have insight, we have perspective. I know that. I've seen that in our reading, in our writing. But what we'll work on this semester is form, what I call academic skills in terms of format and structure. But that can come, even if you're writing a letter, even if you're writing a post on social media, you can still jot your ideas out. And what I do sometimes is I'll copy and paste that information and I'll take it through a Grammarly check. Like, I don't have to be the expert there. I don't want you guys to feel like you have to be a grammar expert, or that you have to be a even sentence expert. Now, I do want to know, basics sentence skill, at least writing a simple sentence, we'll work on those skills. But first of all, I want you to try to shed the added pressure that I have to be perfect in my statement of that, because I think that's what bogs a lot of students down. First of all, your idea is your idea. So that's what you want to get across. Then from there, even if I'm writing a letter or anything, before I hit send on anything, I'll take my things through either a grammar check. I use apps like Grammarly, Microsoft Word grammar. So I let technology check for, did I say this right? Did I use this right? So when I can unburden myself with that, then I find that my ideas are there. My ideas are clear. Am I saying what I want to say? Yes. Now, I can take it through a check to make sure I've said it correctly. You know what I mean? But we'll work on strategies with that. But I want students to kind of start to look at, you don't have to be perfect in your expression of ideas. Now, I know me saying that is different from the reality, because this day and age, people are so judgmental. I have almost never seen nothing like it. I mean, they jump all over. Not what you said. They will jump on how you said it. They're like, oh, you spelled this wrong, or oh, you used this wrong, right? So to eliminate that, I'll just pull some double checks. I'll do a grammar check, or I'll do things like that. But other than that, your ideas are there. As long as you are communicating your ideas, you're fine. We'll work on strategies to help with doing so correctly or appropriately. But I tell students, try not to put that extra burden on yourself of, when I execute, I must execute correctly or perfectly. You have tools to help you with that, especially now. So we'll get more practice with that, Jamisha.
Okay.
Don't worry. But let me show you guys something. Yes, no worries. Let me show you guys something with vocabulary that I wanted to show you. So let me share my screen. Now, this is Merriam-Webster, but I know you guys may use whatever app that you use. So I'm going to put this word in that I saw. I'll put feign. I'll do frailty. Spell that right. Frail. So I'm going to put this in. You see how it gave us an option of whether you want to do it in the dictionary or thesaurus. You guys see that right here?
Yes.
All right, let me show you something. Let me get rid of my. All right, so anytime I make note of a word and I need to look it up, I do not wait to look it up. I feel like I can't move forward until I know what that word is. So one step in reading is pause. A lot of times if you come up on a word you don't know the meaning of, pause and quickly look it up, whether you have it a link on your phone or just Google it, because it will illuminate, it'll open up your meaning, and you'll get the most out of, the additional, the rest of the text. So let's look at this, frailty. State or quality of being frail. Do you guys see right here where it says, let's see, they have this volume signal, right? So let's say this is a word and you're not sure how to pronounce this word. A lot of times I'll hit this. Did you guys hear that?
No.
It's very low, but you can hear
it could be
something.
because I have my Bluetooth on. I forget about that. But when you hit that, it'll say the word for you. So I tell my son all the time, like, this will help you from pronouncing words wrong, really making sure you're saying it right. But look at this, 2 definitions. Sometimes when you look up a word, you will find anywhere from 2 or more definitions. So you want to look at how is the word being used in that particular sentence. So since we're talking about Malcolm X, I'm going to assume he meant frailty in terms of a fault due to weakness, especially of moral character. Okay. So from here, you guys see right here where I'm circling, it'll tell you what part of speech. Remember we talked briefly about the 8 parts of speech last week? When you know what part of speech a word is, a lot of times that helps me too with how it should be used, or how it is used in that sentence. So I have here now, sometimes I look at it in a sentence, often employs irony. So they have synonyms, antonyms, other examples, things like that. Let me show you guys.
Yeah, this will help me a lot. This will.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, so this is what I do a lot of times. Well, every time I do not know a word, the meaning, not only do I look it up, you guys, sometimes I will jot down that definition on the text for me. This is all a part of annotation, right? Let me show you thesaurus, because you may know this word, you just may know it under a different term. So let's look at other words that they use in place of frailty. So synonyms is a failing, it's a fault, a shortcoming, a weakness.
I would have knew what frailty kind of was anyway, just because of the word frail.
Frail, right, good. And here, let's say that I'm using frailty in my writing and I feel like it just doesn't fit. This isn't saying what I want it to say. Well, what if I want a word that means the same thing, but a different word? I kind of come to my synonyms and I can find other words. Instead of frailty, maybe I could use a flaw. This is a particular flaw, or a deficiency. So again, all of this helps with vocabulary building. Not only are you learning the word in order to comprehend the text, but now with that new knowledge, it can inform your own college level vocabulary that you use in your writing, in your everyday speech, so things like that. All right, let me come back to another word that we said really quickly. I want to do chancelleries.
So Ms. Cole.
Yes, ma'am.
So do you go through okay, even though I know you go through the dictionary often to find your words due to a topic you're doing, but how Malcolm X was, do you intentionally read the dictionary how he was?
I do not. That's why I said that we may do it differently from how he did it. What I do is I'll read, and if I come up on a word that's unfamiliar or that I do not know, or even that I'm unsure about, I stop myself and look that word up. Okay. And I know we've talked before about context clues. Sometimes if you read a little bit further, you'll find the meaning. That is sometimes the case. But as you guys kind of move into college level reading, a lot of times authors will write assuming that their audience will know what this word means. You know what I mean? So they won't leave any hints or tips in the text. So where we have traditionally been comfortable with looking, reading a little bit further and maybe working out our own meaning, I can tell you that as you get into college level text, especially when you get into your majors, whether that's nursing, I know you guys have to do medical terminology. Once you get into your major or your focus of study, they in some cases will assume you know certain words or vocabulary. So if I read it and I don't understand it, I'm not going to keep reading. I normally will stop and look it up, get my understanding, and then keep going. Okay, so you guys jotted down, someone in their annotations jotted down chancellery. So you guys see how we have several definitions. So a good thing would be to maybe perhaps reread the text where you found it and then look for the definition that fits how it is used in the text. So I know this is something that we may not normally do, but the good thing about this class is I'm attempting to introduce you to strategies that can help where you may have perhaps had, struggled. So Malcolm X, what I like about him, he knew he struggled. He was able to self-identify. He struggles with vocabulary. A lot of times he knew he didn't understand words that he would read. So for him, he started at dictionary. I'm not necessarily starting at the dictionary, and I don't think you guys would need to start at the dictionary, but I will say make a dictionary a close companion when you read. Definitely. And then when you look the word up, kind of know how incorporate what you are viewing. Okay, chancellery is a noun. Let me make sure I'm pronouncing this right. What are other words I can use in place of this? So kind of looking at the antonyms or things like that. So one of the required materials for the class, I asked you guys to make sure you have access to dictionary and thesaurus, whether that's an app or you just look it up in the computer. A lot of students tell me when I ask them what is their goal for the class or what do they look, a lot of them would tell me, I want to build my vocabulary. I want to use, stronger vocabulary. And without doubt, through annotation, jotting down any words unfamiliar to you, it will help you build your vocabulary. Before you know it, you'll be using that word in your regular conversation or discussion. I find myself doing that sometimes. So it definitely helps. And look, I love Merriam-Webster, just because they give you so many different ways of looking at it. You can put it in a sentence, you can go to your synonyms, etc. All right, so I may have spent a while with that, but is there any of you from your annotations as you were reading? Now, I know you made note of words that were familiar, but is there anyone who, in finding unfamiliar words, you would also work to define them?
Yes, like the one that I found, frailty, I kind of like, there was another word from, I broke it up. So I saw the root word frail. So I kind of knew it was weak or, in that sense.
Okay.
But I didn't know absolutely. So I just looked it up though too.
And then eloquently, because I remember this word, he talked about, how he wanted to use language. I could tell Malcolm X too, he may have perhaps in the past been judged by, no. He was impressed by people's use of vocabulary. You saw that? You guys remember he talked about Bindi, one of the guys he met on the prison yard who kind of introduced him to his, helped him through his conversion to Islam. And he talked all the time about how well Bindi spoke and his use of vocabulary. So Malcolm was motivated, as well by what he wanted to do with language, what he wanted to do with his reading. All right, eloquent. This is an adjective. We know an adjective normally describes our nouns. So marked or forceful and fluent expression, or vividly or moving, expressive or revealing. So yeah, we see the examples here. I would recommend when you guys take your notes, try to leave a portion for new vocabulary as well. All right. I know I go a little bit hard. Every time I read this, you guys, I've been teaching this text maybe about 4 semesters. And every time I read it, I get just as excited like this. I find something new or something that I can kind of connect to what's going on in the world around us. So I may have spent a lot of time there. All right, let's talk really quickly about that. Have you guys noticed any connections between the text that we've been reading? Are you guys noticing any connection in subject matter or ideas in the text that we've read? And I want you to think about the Jason Oda text, the misspelling the word of. Think about fixed versus growth mindset, the Maria Popova article that we discussed on Wednesday. And this particular text, Malcolm X taking us through his process of learning to read. Are you guys noticing any connections or
yes.
Right, I see you, Jamisha. Look, what about anyone else? Is this an overwhelm? Is this a majority yes?
Yes.
All right, look, shout it out for me. What do you guys think? And let me hear from someone I haven't heard from just as of yet, just so I can kind of make sure we're all engaged. What do you guys think that connection is?
History and beliefs.
Okay, I see that, history and beliefs. What else?
Our mindsets.
Mindsets.
And how to train our mind.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I like that. What else? What are connections you guys are seeing between those three texts?
Raising awareness.
Raising awareness. Mm-hmm. Everything we learn isn't always as it seems. Okay, good. So I see again that term learn, right? So I say awareness. Everything we learn isn't always as it seems.
Having a great understanding of reading and vocabulary.
Good. Okay. Good. The connections are there. The three texts that we have read, they are connected. It's very intentional that I use those three texts, especially in our first few weeks, because I did want you guys to kind of consider or confront beliefs or assumptions you may have about education or learning, what they call those of-isms, anything that you perhaps maybe, any indoctrinations. I see where you guys talked about awareness in learning. Jamisha mentioned mindsets in learning. We are reading texts that I place in a theme called education and motivation. So the connection with the text that I have introduced to you guys is that they in some way or another discuss learning, right? Education, how we approach learning, and how we can in some ways reshape or relearn certain habits through an awareness of what our goals may be, what our motivations are, right? So when Jason Oda noticed that, he has of-ism, he has certain things that he questions, and that people, authority figures, shouldn't necessarily be the driving force behind what we think or what we believe, right? That was him being motivated to question those things, look a little bit deeper into why we believe what we believe, right? With the fixed versus growth mindset, that was a pretty interesting read. Hopefully there was what you mentioned, Julie, an awareness, right? Some of us, we saw ourselves in that text, whether you identify as a fixed mindset, whether you identify as growth mindset, or both. I think some of us agreed that we, may straddle the line. I know I do at times. But in that reading, we also learned how when you get control of your mindset, when there's an awareness, it can help you to be more successful in school, personal, and work, professional relationships. And with this last reading, we saw that a lot of the learning that takes place will be self-motivated. A lot of it in college is self-motivated. Sometimes the teacher may throw out concepts. Sometimes the teacher may throw out particular ideas, but how you connect to it, what you get out of it, how you're motivated by that information, sometimes it's individual motivations that inform that. So out of the 3 readings, let me share with you guys how we're kind of taking what we've read and moving into writing about it. Let me pull up our essay assignment sheet, our first essay assignment sheet. Give me just one moment. Actually, I like to view it outside of the text. So let me pull this up. Outside of the Brightspace. Sometimes it's hard to read when I pull it up in our Brightspace page. So let me do it this way. All right, so I've already uploaded this to our week 3 module. So what you guys are looking at on the screen, this is already posted in week 3 module. I'll just quickly read it for you. But we are preparing for, I'm preparing students to write a 4 to 5 paragraph narrative essay on the prompt below. In your essay, you must include what we've already talked about with essay structure, an introduction paragraph with a thesis. We're going to talk about that before we get out of here. 2 to 3 well-developed body paragraphs that sufficiently explain and illustrate or support your point. Finally, students want to include a concluding paragraph that reinforces your main idea and restates your key points. This essay,
it's basically a multi essay as well, correct?
Yes, a multi-paragraph essay, 4 to 5 paragraphs. And we're going to talk about setup and structure in just a second. But plan on this essay being submitted on Friday, okay? So keep in mind due dates. So you don't want to wait till Friday to try it or attempt to submit it. Or if you have any issues submitting, you want to kind of maybe try a little bit earlier so that you don't miss this Friday deadline. Now, what were you going to say, Yamna? I think I heard you.
Yeah, I am asking, you need outline?
No, now, a lot of the pre-writing
only introductions and three body.
Yeah, all that for this assignment you guys are asked to do is complete a 4 to 5 paragraph essay. Okay. But the process of writing that essay, brainstorming, drafting your ideas, we will make time to do that in class. So we're going to get to that in just one moment, but there is no additional outlines that you need to turn in. Okay. All right. From there, here's what I want you guys to consider. Out of the articles that we've read, the ones I just mentioned, and, you know, based on the theme of education and motivated, which article that we've read and discussed do you feel has motivated you the most? Okay.
So basically, we have to pick one of these topics specifically to talk about, correct?
Yes, but when talking about it, you are discussing, this is the particular article that motivated me the most, and whether it motivated you to want to improve your reading skills, study skills, perhaps change your mindset. It would depend on what article you select, right? As far as how you were motivated. But whichever article motivated you the most or resonated the most with you, that's the one you will pick out. And then from there, you will tell how this article motivated you or why, okay? So 4 to 5 paragraphs. If we know that your intro and conclusion will already be 2 paragraphs, then you know you will just need to give either 2 to 3 body paragraphs, okay? Now from this assignment, when you guys submit, this paper will be typed, formatted appropriately, and we'll talk about that all week, helping you guys with that. And you guys will be submitting this on Brightspace, so we'll go through that as well. But for the actual assignment, are you guys clear on what we're doing with this paper assignment?
Yes, but I have a question.
All right, go ahead, Destiny.
What if what if we can like get like 4 to 5 paragraphs out of that one article? Like you said, the intro and the other one, that's like 1 paragraph by itself. But like, what if you might only get like 2 or 3 out of it?
Well, it wouldn't be what if you would get out of it. The parameters of the assignment is 4 to 5 paragraphs. So you must produce at least 4 paragraphs in order for you to have met the guidelines for the assignment. So it's a good question that you're asking, but you guys would have to be forced to, or not forced to, I don't want to use the term forced to. You would have to explore strategies of development that will help you get the additional body paragraphs. So trust me, with this assignment, mostly what I would get from students would be 5 paragraphs. But with this being our first paper, 4 to 5 paragraphs, well, I'll just kind of see where you guys fall with that. But let's talk about how you'll set it up or outline it, as Yamna mentioned earlier, in exploring writing strategies. So let me ask you guys this. When you get a paper assignment like this traditionally in the past, what is the first thing that we do in preparing to write a paper? What do we do?
Come up with our intro.
All right, here come up with the intro. What else? Anthony, what did you say?
Brainstorm.
Okay, here, brainstorm.
Outline.
Introduce the topic, then to the thesis.
Brainstorm, outline. I hear intro to thesis. What else?
Try to put ourselves in the writing position.
Okay, that absolutely, because
this
this is
writer.
Okay, good. I like that. I like that. So I'm going to put, you consider audience and purpose. I know what you're saying when you say that, Julie. Okay, what else? All right, I'm just asking because I'm going to kind of lay out the writing process.
You gather your main points.
Okay, the main point. All right, let me go ahead and take what you guys have given me and all right, let's talk about something. In this class, uniquely, we use what I call a 5-step writing process. And with this paper, we are going to practice right here together today, this 5-step process. So I want to consider what you guys have shared already in terms of your process, where you, someone mentioned first thing you do is come up with an intro. I think Anthony mentioned brainstorm and outline. So let's consider something. Let me share my screen. Before you can dive into writing a paper, you want to make sure that you are answering the question. So you want, first of all, I want to be really clear on what your answer is for that question before you get started. And you want to consider things such as audience and purpose. So hold on, let me pull up a blank screen.
Ms. Cole.
Yes, ma'am, Shania.
I thought you mentioned that we can answer the question in our thesis, or right? Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
But I kind of just want that focus to be number one.
Okay.
So the focus is, first of all, what am I doing with this text, right? So before we get to the 5-step writing process, Julie mentioned a step that isn't traditionally discussed, but is very important. And that is where you kind of put yourself in the position of author, okay? So first of all, consider, what am I doing with this assignment? This may be a new step, one that we aren't used to doing, but as a college level writer, you always want to consider, and let me put this before the 5-step writing process, before we get to the process. You always want to consider audience and purpose. And this is important because you guys are being asked to do something specific with this assignment. First, you're asked to write a narrative essay, right? So with the narrative essay, you know that you are detailing your opinion, your thoughts, your ideas. You're kind of telling me what you think about this particular topic. So the paper will be driven by your opinion. So I'm going to say, we know this is a narrative essay. So I'm going to say my story. That's what a narrative is. This is you telling how you were motivated, what motivated you the most, and why. I see somebody. I see Dwayne talked about the intro. Good. Dwayne, you just laid out the correct essay structure. So anytime you are asked to write an essay, proper essay structure would be, I'm going to include an intro. There are going to be body paragraphs as well as a conclusion. So I'm glad that you have.
So our essay is basically our story. We're not introducing the author into it.
Now you are in your introduction, but I want to specify it's your story, because this shouldn't be a writing of what that text is about. That this whole essay isn't about what the text is about. This essay is about how that text motivated you.
Okay, so basically both. Our ideas and the text.
Mainly about how the text motivated you.
Okay.
So yeah, so we'll come back to intro. So hold on intro. We'll come back to that. But before you even think about how you're going to introduce it, you guys want to know, be mindful of who your audience is, right? So this is an academic essay. So you are writing this for an instructor. You're writing it for a college level course, and to satisfy an assignment. So it's important to know that ahead of time, because since your audience is your instructor and that you're writing it for a grade in an academic setting, you want to make sure you're using formal language. And what that means is an awareness or a mindfulness to eliminate text language or how you may primarily talk. It's almost what I would call a code switching, right? If I normally write informally when I write emails to my friends, or if I'm texting, normally my style is informal. I may use slang words, I may use colloquialisms, I may not care about punctuation or capitalization. That is the kind of writing we're used to with texting or things like that, even writing on social media. But for this particular audience, for this assignment, we would have to switch gears in that this is a formal assignment. I want to make sure that I am writing, with lack of abbreviations, eliminating text language, aware that this assignment is for a grade. So know that first. You also want to know the guidelines, of the assignment. You guys know that this is 4 to 5 paragraphs, so you want to make sure you are producing that in order to meet those guidelines. But also, you want to make sure that, because you know me, and one of the main things that I'm interested in is how you respond to the question. I want to make sure. Want to make sure you are directly answering that question in your response. Okay, so this is just something front loading. Before you put pen to paper, you have a clear expectation or clear understanding of what's expected from this assignment, right? What is something else
that guideline?
That is on the assignment sheet that we just talked about. The guidelines is, I mentioned it should have an introduction paragraph.
Outline?
Nope. The guidelines is, I mentioned it should have an introduction paragraph. I also mentioned it should have body paragraphs and a conclusion. So I'm just saying, being mindful of what the paper should include.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's different from an outline. Okay, so once you know the audience, all right, and you guys kind of know the question, we're going to say, which article, I'm just going to put it here in front of you, motivated you the most. All right, and then we're going to say why. All right, so now that I have in front of me exactly what I'm doing in producing this writing, let's talk about the steps. So I see that we all have different steps when it comes to getting started, but in my goal to help you establish good habits that'll help you to be successful in college writing, the very first thing you want to do when you get a paper assignment is you want to brainstorm. You want to generate ideas. You don't want to put pen to paper yet because you don't know yet what you want to say. So it's kind of frustrating when you start right at an introduction, because it's so very hard to introduce something that you don't even know yet, right? So before we go to writing introductions or even attempting to word an introduction, we first want to know, what's my response to this question? What is the article that motivated me the most? First, so in some cases, and let me put this here, step one will always begin with generating ideas. So do we have habits or a process for generating ideas that we already utilized? You guys, do we have a process for brainstorming that we already utilize?
Jotting down everything that pertains to the subject.
Okay, so where it's asking the question of which article motivated me the most, let me tell you what a brainstorming for me may look like. So we read Jason Oda's The Misspelling. So I'm just going to do misspelling. You know, so give me, look, I digress. Let me get a different page so I'm not confusing you guys. All right, so I'm going to kind of jot my ideas down. So I'm going to organize it by the misspelling, word of, we did the fixed versus growth, and we did just the Malcolm X. So from the original question, are you guys already leaning towards a particular article that you feel, you know, as you read it, it gave you that aha, it gave you that particular motivation or a way of looking at or approaching your learning? Do you guys already off the top of your head may have an article that you're leaning towards?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
No,
here's some of
not
us
yet.
say, not yet. Okay, good.
Yes.
If not yet, this is a good way to start in terms of brainstorming, because you want to generate ideas before you can even develop a thesis. So let's say misspelling of. Is there anybody leaning towards the misspelling of, the Jason Oda, the one about of-isms, beliefs, and assumptions? All right, if not, that's okay. All right, so here's what my brainstorming would look like if I'm trying to decide, if I'm not sure.
Is this the 5 steps on your screen that you're showing?
I'm showing an example of step 1, which is generating ideas.
Okay.
Okay, so we're still on generating ideas, but I just kind of want to show you guys what that may look like. So anytime you generate ideas, you are kind of jotting down your response, your ideas or opinions about that topic or about the prompt. So since we were asked a specific question, which article, I'm looking at all 3 articles. Now let me get some ideas about which one may have motivated me the most. So with the misspelling of the word of, what I feel motivated me in this text was to kind of question beliefs and assumptions. So I'll put that here. It kind of gave me too an awareness about indoctrinations and to kind of question those. And I think he talked about, what did he mention? He mentioned religious indoctrinations. What else about this text may have motivated me? Or anybody else, if you guys just want to throw out some ideas to help me with this. Question, belief.
What about word order? Or like something that I'm trying to say a word that's specifically due to that.
Do you
But
mean
it's
of
not clicking on?
Like the spelling of a word?
No, I'm talking about like word or order. Like,
oh, world order. I see. Yes. Okay, I like that. So depending on whatever really resonated with you about that text or where that text may have motivated you, you would want to get those ideas out in relation to the topic we're talking about. Which text motivated you the most? So I can kind of tell from my brainstorm on the misspelling of that I'm not getting a lot there. Let me look at fixed versus growth mindset. And I was motivated about this in terms of how mindsets inform, everyday life. Kind of being aware of a mindset. I also liked about that particular article, how the mindsets, I'll say how we can change mindsets. I like that. I like too about how the growth mindset took failure as successes. I was really motivated by that. What else about the fixed versus growth, you guys?
The fact that it was.
Oh, I'm sorry, say it again, Robert. Oh, snap, did I lose him? Snap. So what else about the fixed versus growth, you guys? We're brainstorming, help me. What motivated you guys? What did you like about the text? I'll ask that. What did you guys like about the fixed versus growth mindset text?
I liked how it detailed, it broke down the different mindsets. Let's say that.
I'll say the breakdown. of different. I like too how it explained the breakdown of different mindsets in professional, personal, and education, right? So I like how the mindsets apply to every aspect of life. I'll put that. All right, so you guys can kind of see from my brainstorming notes that I have a lot of ideas about this particular article. So, all right, now what about the Malcolm X one? What are some things that motivated you here? I really like his attitude, like the self-awareness. I was really impressed and motivated at the level of self-awareness that he had and how he used that to help him in his education. What else?
World history.
Oh yeah, so you liked his, I'll put interest in. What else? Like, do you guys see what I'm doing with this? Because I feel like we should be having a lot more. I feel like we should have a lot more added on this list if you all are kind of there. Oh, okay, so you like how he was open-minded. I do too. And motivated to learn no matter. Okay. Open-minded.
I like how Malcolm didn't wait around to have somebody teach him. He taught himself.
Okay, good.
Yeah, he was a go-getter.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. Okay. So we said I liked his self-awareness. You guys, I like the homemade education. And in saying homemade, that's not to say like a bootleg version, but
yeah. I like that he was determined for the truth.
And you can see that education can take place outside of a classroom. I really like that that's highlighted here, right? So that's what I mean when I say by homemade education. His interest.
And also, you know what else I like, Ms. Clark? I like that his form of education, like it was untouched. Like you didn't have to worry about it going through like multiple hands. Like you did that research yourself. Like Right.
So what can I call that? Oh, I like that. You said untouched. Yes, because as you could see with Jason Oda, remember with the young boy Malcolm, the student's name was Malcolm and Jason Oda. Through his interaction with the teacher and peers, it changed his approach to education. People began to be silent and be quiet because they didn't want to sound dumb, right? Whereas Malcolm didn't have that pressure or that, he kind of didn't have that extra burden on his back. I like that too. All right, good. So you guys see what I'm doing here. So with the case of, just from what we have, where step 1 of the 5-step process is to generate ideas, brainstorm on the topic to help you arrive at a thesis statement or a main idea. This is what this does. So from this, I am going to, even though it seems like we have more results under fixed versus growth, I can tell by the excitement that you guys, had in giving me your ideas about Malcolm X, that this may be one that I'm just, for this example, I will use. So through brainstorming, I'm now I'm kind of taking a move back up, you guys. Now that we've generated ideas, and I'm going to come back to that, where we brainstorm. When you generate ideas, you can outline it. I remember when I was in high school, we used a method called branching. Do you guys remember branching?
Yes.
Yeah, you remember that? Oh, I couldn't stand it when the teacher would make us do it. But it's also another method of brainstorming, right? Kind of taking a topic and then simplifying that topic by using your opinion. So all of these are methods of generating ideas. So I'm just kind of adding this here. What you saw me do was a brainstorming method where I just list. Sometimes, another method is free write. So sometimes I'll tell students, take that particular prompt, what article motivated you the most and why, and start a free write. Just answer that question. Take about 10 minutes just answering that question. Don't let your pencil come up until the time is up. Students will find when they go through that process of brainstorming that they are able to come up with a lot of ideas as well. So whatever your method is, and we'll practice a few, you always want to think about what you want to say before you say it. You do not just want to sit down in front of a computer and start to bang out a paper. So the writing process that I promote in this class, we begin with generating ideas. From there, we move into planning and organizing. So now that I have those ideas out, now I'm going to use these ideas to help me plan my paper, definitely plan my thesis, and organize my essay. So let me show you guys, based on the ideas we have, how it can be used for you to plan and organize your paper. All right, so I'm going to pick the Malcolm X Learning to Read just for this example's sake. All right, so anytime you guys are working to develop a thesis statement, and we're going to get more practice with this for tomorrow's class. Anytime you're practicing generating a thesis statement, the best way to do that is to directly answer the question that is posed. So answer it in complete sentence. So which article motivated me the most and why? Oh.
Is this on the generate ideas?
Yeah, well, this is under planning and organizing. So
okay,
we
so
moved.
that's the
Okay.
second one, correct?
That's the second one, yep. So the article that motivated me the most was outcome X's. And you guys, since this is a formal paper, anytime you are given the title of a article or a text, unless it's a book would be italicized, but the title of an article, you want to use your capitalization appropriately. So I capitalized the L in learning and R, and I put the quotation marks around it just to signify or indicate that this is a title, right? So in the article that motivated me the most was Malcolm X Learning to Read because, I'm going to say because it promoted self-learning. Should I say self-learning or self-education? I'm freestyling, so let me just get it out first.
Self-education.
Okay, I'm going to say self-education. Promoted self-education. Bam, bam. Now, just in using my brainstorming, using the generated ideas that we worked on together, I was able to take my notes and turn my notes into a thesis statement. Do you guys see that here? Let me try to bold it. So in this single statement, I have identified the topic. We're talking about which article motivated you the most. So that language is here in my response. I identified what that article was and I told you why. So in this single sentence, before you guys have produced an introduction, you have a main idea. So now that I have a main idea, I can plan and organize my paper. So you guys see how we went from step one of just generating ideas and then into step two. Now I'm taking those ideas and I'm planning and organizing them in order to produce a thesis statement. Now I may have made it.
If you plug that into your introduction, not planning, you just said like the self-awareness.
Yep. See, and I can see, Shania, I can see that you want to go right to that introduction. Like you want to go right there. But before we go to the introduction, just yet, before we get there, let's kind of think about first how we're going to organize the paper, because traditionally what I like to tell students, don't worry about your introduction and conclusion until last. You first want to know what your main idea is. That's kind of what your introduction is presenting. So before you can introduce your, before you can write an introduction, you want to be familiar with what you're going to discuss in this paper, because your introduction introduces your paper. So before you do that, you kind of want to know, all right, what is this paper going to discuss? So we have that first point on what it will discuss. We know we are going to talk about Malcolm X article. We're going to talk about how you were motivated, or whatever your thesis is, you know, to use his commitment or ideas about self-education and his open-minded approach to learning. So from these two ideas, now I want you guys to listen to me real quickly as y'all are thinking about your paper. This particular thesis is for example only. Look, I don't want to see this thesis in your papers, or else I want to see it. This is for example, okay? So for this particular statement, I know already if I'm doing a 4-paragraph, let's say I'm doing a 4-paragraph essay, I know already what my first body paragraph is going to discuss just by looking at my thesis. So this is just my notes, you guys. I don't know if you would normally do this for yours, but my first body paragraph is going to cover what? If you guys look at this thesis, what as a reader, what can you anticipate that my first body paragraph will cover?
The main idea.
Right, but out of that main idea.
The main idea of the three
evidence
reasons. Mm-hmm. Evidence,
right.
reasons. It really depends on what you're writing, because if it's persuasive, you put in the introduction like, my purpose is to woo, inform, persuade.
Right now, but here's what I want you guys to see what's in front of you. Like I
All
have
the
it in
things
front
they
of
have
me.
in common.
I don't have to think about it because I have it right in front of me. So in my first body paragraph, I'm going to talk about how I was motivated by the article because it promoted self-education. So let me copy this. So I'm going to talk about this point in my first body paragraph. Anything you mentioned in your thesis, anything that is mentioned in your thesis, it operates as an outline for your paper. As a reader, when I read your thesis, I know what your paper will discuss. So you don't want to introduce anything that's outside of this scope. And if you guys, hold on, let me do my annotation. So I need you guys to see this. Right here. If you see, got a little ugly with that. But now that I have this from my step 2, my planning and organizing step, I have what I need to outline my paper. Like there are no more question marks other than what details will I add. But I know what it's going to talk about. So let me go ahead and hit this. Okay, so my first body paragraph, I'm going to go more into detail about how the Malcolm X Learning to Read text motivated me because it promoted self-education. So I may give an example from the text. Maybe I may say about how Malcolm X would stay up all night reading, using the light from under his door to help him read. So I may use that quote from the text, and then I may go into how it motivated me. So I can talk about, because this is a narrative, you are telling your point of view or your perspective. So I can go into then, that motivated me because a lot of times I don't make out enough time to study or to get through my own reading. So I was inspired and motivated by Malcolm X, promotion of self-education to seek out my own study habits or my own process, right? So
okay, is that going back to the link, basically? A link?
Is it going back to the link?
No, I'm saying, like, ain't that your link that you just stated, like, after you said your evidence?
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, but I'm kind of situating it under, this is what first body paragraph would talk about. So look at it as though, and again, let me come up here. Let me go back. The goal is planning, and right now we're at step planning and organizing. So I'm organizing my paper. I already know what my main idea is. Now I'm organizing it because I don't want to freestyle. I don't want to shoot from the hip when I'm attempting to write a 4 to 5 paragraph paper. Because when you do that, you will find yourself veering off topic. You'll find yourself pulling out other information that may not have anything to do with your topic. So when you come in without a clear idea of what you want to discuss, that's when you'll throw everything but the kitchen sink into your essay. But when you know what your topic is, how you plan to discuss that topic, then you can lay out your paper. So that's what I'm attempting to do in, I'll talk about that. I know, Dwayne, give me 1 minute before I shift to the journal. So hold on just a second on that. But with this assignment, here's what I can tell from discussion. We have ways that we've written papers before, but I would like for you guys just to attempt, for the sake of this class, to eliminate those. So ordinarily, we would dive right into, let me go into my introduction. Because I can feel you guys are trying to write the paper already, but we haven't quite got to the step of writing the paper yet. We are at the planning and organizing step, and that's an important step, especially when you are writing multi-paragraph essays. An essay is driven by the thesis. So you want to be really, really clear on what my thesis is and how this thesis is going to inform my paper. Every paragraph, every sentence, every example, every detail is there to support and further develop your thesis statement. So before you write, before you want to go into drafting an intro or kind of really, dive right into writing your paper, first of all, we have to be very, very clear on what is the main idea of this paper. How do I plan to support and develop that? And that's what I'm attempting to show you guys right here with this planning and organizing. So I already have my thesis, that's the planning. So I know what I'm going to discuss. Now I'm attempting to organize that. So second body paragraph will be about, I plan to discuss the open-mindedness that he showed, or his open-minded approach to learning. And you are going to talk about this in terms of how it motivated you. So again, pointing back to the thesis, the article that motivated me the most was Malcolm X Learning to Read, because it promoted self-education and presented an open-minded approach to learning. So with that being said, I already have my roadmap for my essay. So that's what we're laying out. One reason, promoted self-education, bam. Second reason, presents an open-minded approach to learning, bam. Now, from there, I can, lay out my conclusion. So this is our organizing. So once I kind of have that laid out, scrolling up, we go to step 3, and this is where we write the first draft. But we do not write or dive into writing or attempt to put together, for the sake of this class, where my goal is to help improve your writing skills. We don't go into writing a first draft until we're first clear on what our thesis is, what we plan to discuss in the paper, and some efforts of organizing those thoughts. Because I don't know if you guys have noticed in the past, but when you just try to freestyle it, it takes longer because you constantly have to keep yourself on track. Do you guys notice that when you write?
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll have to stop and ask yourself, okay, now what was I talking about again? What example should I be adding? And just from what I picked up on the diagnostic writing, planning and organizing is an important step that I think would benefit. I think it would definitely help us all in the overall quality of our essay. So after you write a first draft, so now that I know what my thesis is, this is what's driving my paper. Once I know what that is, now I know kind of what my first body paragraph will talk about. It's up to me to kind of come up with my own examples and details, and I can kind of work on that through my drafting. But as long as I have this, then I'm confident. I can kind of jot out my ideas and work through them. So we have a first draft. But does it end with the first draft for you guys normally? Does it normally end with the first draft? Is our first draft always our last draft?
No.
All right, I heard Robert say no. For the rest of us, is our first draft normally our last draft?
No, it's first draft and it's final draft.
It's not specifically the same thing, but it's going back.
But technically, when you guys write a first draft, I'll ask this: do you normally revisit it? Do you normally go back and do any rewriting?
Yeah, and then it's called the final draft.
Okay, yeah, but I'm asking, is that what normally takes place? So you guys would just say yes or no?
Yeah. You were passing and all that during the first draft, yeah.
Okay, good. So normally that is what happens. So naturally, you guys know that the next step is going to be revision and rewriting. Okay, so what you guys are turning in on Friday, I want you to treat it as though you have gone through, I've written this out, I've taken a look at how my ideas work in sentence form. I'm fixing whatever doesn't work. I'm kind of adding what perhaps may be missing. So if that's what we normally do, kind of keep that same approach. So because step 4 will take us through a revision and rewriting process. But keep in mind, when you write your first draft, it's pretty much a testing process. And now I'm going to see how well my ideas work to support and develop my main point. So it will have to go through a reading through. It will have to go through a testing it against your thesis to kind of make sure you have included what is relevant to your main point. From there, once you see what may be missing or what you may need to add or remove, we revise and rewrite. What is normally your last step in the writing process? What do we do very last thing before we submit?
Proofread.
Now, I like it, Robert.
Proofread, spell check, and grammar.
Absolutely, good. So Dwayne said proofread, spell check, and grammar. Now, I'm going to add a little note here. So that pretty much meant checking for correctness. Now, traditionally, students waste a lot of time when they write their first draft. They waste a lot of time trying to get it perfect. That's why I asked you guys the question on, do you normally write knowing that you'll go back and revise it? Because if you do write knowing that, with your first draft, just get your ideas out. I'm only focus or burden yourself with just the idea. Am I supporting my thesis? Am I developing my thesis? Have I included enough examples so that my reader can follow my line of logic or my reasoning? From there is when you go through your rewriting again of ideas. You don't check for correctness, and that's whether it's spell check, grammar check, kind of making sure your sentences are constructed appropriately. We normally don't do that until the very last step. And the reason why is, if you're anything like me, if I'm in the process of self-correcting as I'll go along, I will never finish. Right? Does anybody else, you know, like, does anyone agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah. When I'm constantly stopping to correct myself, it impedes on the creative process, so it gets in the way, and it takes much longer in the process. So new way that we are approaching writing in this class with our first paper assignment. We're going to start with generating ideas. So before I put pen to paper, before I start to write an intro, let me first answer this question and let me know, or let me at least have an idea of how I plan to write this paper, right? Then we go to planning and organizing. Now that I know my approach, maybe what article motivated me the most, now let me write out my thesis statement. Planning and organizing is reserved for formulating your thesis, okay? From there, you'll take that, just what we went through with organizing our ideas, you'll write a first draft, and we go through revision and rewriting. So with this first paper assignment, now that you guys have the actual prompt, here's what I want us to do for homework. Two things, well, several things. We didn't get a chance to get to journal. Don't worry about that. Dwayne, you asked me about the journal assignment. Don't worry about that. We'll pick up daily journal tomorrow. So don't worry about anything for today. In terms of today's homework, one is, I want you guys to take step 1 and 2, generating ideas, planning and organizing. I would like to see proof of your own individual brainstorming. So whether you are brainstorming, doing a list like you saw me do here, let me go back down, sorry. Whether you are outlining, I think from what I heard from Yamna or maybe even Shania or Jewel, it sounds like some of us may normally outline. If that is your preferred method, please feel free. But whatever method you do in terms of brainstorming, write it down, jot it down. I'd like to see evidence of it, okay? So one homework is generate ideas. From there, I want you guys to also come in with a draft of your thesis statement. So draft of thesis statement. And when we think about a draft of a thesis statement, think about your response to that question. What article motivated you the most and why? Okay, I'll put that there. Okay, so that is part 1 of homework. You guys need to come tomorrow with your thesis statement and evidence of generating ideas. I will ask to see that. Now, if you are writing it in, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Please upload homework in Brightspace.
Yeah, I always post a kind of like an update or announcement in Brightspace, so I will. Okay. So another thing that I want you guys to make sure you're doing, there is a reading posted under week 3 module by Helen Keller. And the name of that reading is The Most Important Day. We are reading that. And I want you just to read it and kind of take notes. We'll go through a discussion tomorrow. But the discussion of that text directly links to our discussion of thesis statement that we'll pick up tomorrow. So
you want us to do the 2 steps and then you want us to do the reading?
Yes. That is your homework for tonight. Don't worry about journal. We'll pick up journal, daily journal entry on Tuesday.
And then like with this, the essay is still going to be due Friday.
The essay is still due Friday. The process of you guys generating the thesis is what's going to help us go through drafting in class. But we can't draft anything until you have a working thesis statement. So that is what we'll work on tonight or in the morning, the hour before class, whatever you guys may need to do in terms of carving that time aside. But come tomorrow with a thesis, a draft of your thesis statement, because we may need to revise it. Okay.
Miss Cole.
Yes, Destiny.
Did you ever get the a link or anything for the book we need?
Yeah. Now at the beginning of class, I told you guys they added it to the online bookstore. So where you went to purchase books originally, they've added the ISBN number. So you have the link to purchase it there. Purchase no other books but just that one Malcolm X reader, because I think there's going to be a lot listed there. You only want to purchase.
So it's on there?
Yeah. At the they added the link. Oh, look, I'm looking for the book and it's right here under my arm. They added the link for the book. I think it was Thursday or Friday. I sent the email out.
I'm sorry, it had disconnected for a little bit. What happened now?
Yeah, double check your online book, the online bookstore. It should be there. And if it's not, let me know.
But you said the dictionary as well, correct? Because I already ordered my dictionary.
Well, that's fine. I told you guys you can either have the handheld dictionary or you can have the electronic one. It's strictly up to you. Up to you. All right, good. Are there any questions about the homework?
No.
I'll reiterate it on Brightspace.
Can you repeat how I upload video discussion?
Yeah, so we'll talk about that offline, Yamna. So right after class is over, just stay after a little bit and we'll go through. Anyone else too who may have any questions about how to upload that welcome video, we'll talk about that. I'll open that back up for today only. Beyond today, if it's not submitted, it's okay. Because I will say that for the most part, I want to say we had like about 80 to 85% participation with that. So for the most part, I think you guys did well. You're comfortable with using the discussion board, and that's good because we will be using it a lot more this semester. So if you had any questions about welcome video, stay after. If not, thank you for your time, good people. I appreciate you, and enjoy what's left of your day today. I will post a reminder on Brightspace for the homework, so you guys will have that. But come in tomorrow with what we just did here, your efforts of brainstorming. Go ahead, Robert.
So don't one box it to you.
Now the only thing you guys were one boxing to me was your journal entries. That was the only thing you were one boxing to me. For this assignment, I just wanted you guys to bring it to class with you. So you don't have to one box it, but you can put it in Padlet tomorrow. But as long as you have it written down somewhere, just come prepared to discuss your thesis statement tomorrow. Does that make sense? Okay, wait a minute. I see a question in the chat.
What about Google Drive or Dropbox?
You guys can email it to me. I told you with the Dropbox or with Google Drive, I think what I could tell is that some of us were having difficulty putting documents into Google Drive. And even through discussion, we kind of couldn't get, couldn't get through that. So I'll open it up online. I mean, not online, I'm sorry, through my email for journal entries. But All right, let me say this because I kind of see that question came up again about the thesis. Bring it to class with you tomorrow because I kind of don't want it before then. So give you time to work on it. Come to class with it tomorrow. Have it available. And from class, if you need to email it or submit it to me, we'll do it then. So don't worry about that right now.
If we are not submitting online homework.
No, you guys are bringing it with you to class tomorrow. So you're just going to be prepared with it tomorrow.
And tell me how I submit, how I upload video.
All right, we'll talk about that in just a second. Any other questions? All right, my good people.
I got you. To make sure it's the.
No.
I'm sorry. We got to do this and then read that story. That's it. And then the journals due tomorrow.
Yeah, but we're going to do the journals in class. Don't worry about the journals.
Okay.
Even though I like that y'all worried about them journals, but don't worry about them right now. We'll pick that back up tomorrow.
Okay. Well, I'm fine then. Thank you.
All right, no worries. All right, you guys, have a good rest of your day. Try to get out if you can.
Okay.
You too.
Have a good one. All right,
Bye-bye.
stay with me, Yamna. And Tamicia, I know you two needed to. Maybe any questions? Oh, she left me. All right. Okay, I see you, Yamna. Shania, did you need to know how to do your
the upload?
Yeah, the welcome video as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me pull it up. And you guys did read the step-by-step instructions on the assignment sheet, right?
With the questions, correct?
No, on the assignment sheet that was under week 2 module, it's a first step. You do this, and it kind of walks you through the step of uploading your welcome video.
It's the link, right? We had to go to the let me see. I think it was.
Hold on, let me pull it up. So I'm gonna go to week 2. And under week 2 module, let me share my screen with y'all so you can see what I'm doing. All right, so this is under the week 2 module readings. Let me show you again, week 2 module. So you see here, this is from last week. First assignment is a welcome icebreaker discussion board. You click on that. And once you look at the bottom, to submit your videos, and then it gives you a step-by-step walkthrough on how to submit your videos. Did you guys get an opportunity to see this?
Oh, so we have to go to discussions.
Yep. Yeah,
okay,
so
and I could just submit it right there, right?
Yeah, but let me show you. I'll walk you through it. Hold on, let me go back to home. And since Yamna, since I know you have a situation, let me pause my share. Since I know you had a YouTube link for my example, I'll do it using a YouTube link. So hold on. All right, give me 1 second, you guys. I'll click this. And I'll copy this link. Okay. Okay, so what you guys see on the screen in terms of uploading the video, and I need to go and open back up that assignment. You will go here under assessments. So under assessments is where you'll find discussions, okay? So you see this banner up top under assessments, you go to discussions. From here, you see the assignment. So you get the information,
here is
directions.
My screen is empty. Discussion, no, nothing showed.
All right, let me stop
I think
sharing.
we removed.
Let me pull it back up, hold on.
Oh yeah.
All right, can you see it? Is your screen up now?
I saw your screen, but my screen is empty.
So what are you looking at then? Like, what do you view?
Only discussion and one sec. Yeah, and filtered by unread, nothing else.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because I'm on the screen that kind of has discussion. So you said you do see discussions?
Yeah, I saw your screen, but my screen is empty.
So when you say that your screen is empty, does that mean that you can't see? I mean, like that's kind of it's a little bit confusing. When you say your screen is empty, can you see my screen?
Yeah, I saw your screen.
Okay. Oh, but when you're doing it yourself, yeah, that's because I haven't opened it back up. Okay, so let me pause really quickly and let me open it back up. And I'm fussing just a tad bit because next time you guys let me know before the assignment is due.
Yeah, I was starting to.
Yeah, like once it's due, then it's due. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah, like moving forward. Once it's due, it's due. So we're kind of having to go back. So now I got to go back and open the assignment back up. So hold on real quick. Let me do that. All right, hold on. Let me go here. All right, so I'm going to make this due at the end of day today. Today is the 15th. Okay. All right, so now when you go into it, you should be able to see it with it being open up. You may need to refresh your page, maybe. That may help. Let me refresh mine too. All right, so now let me share the screen. Hopefully you guys can kind of see it on your end. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so this was after we went through assessments and clicked on discussion. So you see that.
Okay.
Here is the instructions. You would click here. You know what? Oh, it's gonna look different. So you click here on this, on the blue. And then to start a new thread is what you will do to upload your video or to have the option to. So you click on start new thread. Okay. So whatever your subject will be, let's say welcome, you can say welcome video, you can put your name, etc. So I'll do that. So once you do that, now Yamna, where you had a YouTube video, I just went to YouTube and I copied a link of another video that I had. So because I've copied that already, I just need to paste it. So I paste it there. So in pasting that link there, you are done. You can then go right there to post. There's nothing else you will need to do.
How I paste?
You would do.
Okay, I have it, Miss Cole.
Okay, so you got it. Okay,
yeah,
go ahead, Shania. And then if you have any problems, shoot me a quick email.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. Have a good one. Okay. And all right. So Yamna, you said with the link, what do? Okay. You would go to YouTube. YouTube gives you the option to share the link. Now, I don't have that screen up, so I don't. Well, maybe I can. Let me hold on. Let me go to it.
You mean I open YouTube?
So do you know how to copy and paste? I'm like, you know
yeah,
how
I
like
know.
Yeah. So it's just the regular copy and pasting is what you're doing. So you would whatever where you saved your video, right? You would go to your URL bar, sorry. You would copy that link, which you could right click on your mouse and you could click the word copy.
Okay.
And then you would come here and then you can right click on your mouse again and you can click paste and it will paste it to your screen. And then from there, you can hit post. You're ready to share it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I got it.
Okay, good. Yeah. All right, so now now before you go, hold on real quick for me, Yamna. Let me just make sure on my end that I can see it. I just.
No. I'm sending you later because
Oh, okay.
Because this link in my phone, and
Oh, okay.
I opened my laptop.
I see. Okay.
After class, I'm sending you.
Okay. And if you have any trouble, if you feel like it didn't go through, shoot me a quick email. I'll be sitting here for a minute, okay?
Okay.
All right, awesome. And are you okay? Are you clear on the homework or?
Yeah. You
Okay.
said, but I'm not clear about essay. But I talked to about tomorrow.
Okay, that's cool. So when you say you're not clear about the essay, Yamna, you mean like about the assignment, right? About the essay assignment?
Today homework?
Yeah, like when you say that you're not clear about the essay, do you mean about that
Yes.
assignment?
Yeah. Assignment, Friday assignment.
Okay, yeah.
I
So we'll
talk to you
talk
tomorrow.
Okay, that'll be good. We'll talk more about it then.
Because I'm confused. You said three about 3 essays. I'm not understanding what I do. About like I talk about like 3 essays. I talk about myself. I don't understand.
No. Oh, I see what you're saying. So it's the assignment sheet. Okay, I got you. Hold on real quick before you go, Yamna, real fast. I'm just gonna show you really quickly. So you said there were 3 articles. I see what you're saying. Here's what you're doing. Look, let me highlight this. So you see what I highlighted? You are responding to this question in your essay.
Okay.
You're picking one of the articles that I listed here. Which one out of these 3 do you feel motivated you the most?
No, you mean I pick only I can pick only one.
You pick only one. You're picking the one that you feel motivated you the most.
I think you said I still write about on 3 topics.
Oh, you said about the 3 top. Okay, so I'm getting confused.
So you talk about 3 essays. I write about this 3 essays combined.
No, you're picking one. So it's giving you options. So you have the option from the 3 that we've read. So you can choose from the 3. I'm sorry, say it again.
Yeah, this is good for me because I'm really very confused.
Okay, it's no worries.
Okay, I pick only one.
This
is my choice.
It's your choice, yep. And you are picking the one that you feel motivated you the most. And your essay will be explaining why this essay motivated you the most. That is what you'll be writing about.
In introduction, in introduction I mentioned. Can I mention about essay?
Yeah. Yes.
First, no. Which one I pick? Can I write about in introduction?
Absolutely, yeah. So I think what you're asking is like.
Then I come in a body paragraph and I mention all things.
Now, when you say all things, what do you mean all things?
Like you say in your indefinite in line, education, motivation.
Right. Yeah, we're gonna. You know what? Tomorrow we're gonna have time to draft it in class, so I'll get a better idea of what you mean. You know, your overall direction. So we don't have to figure it all out today. That's okay. When we work on it tomorrow in class, we can work to get better understanding.
My question is, first I write first my introduction, write about essay, then I write in my own words.
Right. Oh, I see what you're saying. You're talking about formatting. Yeah. So you're saying in your introduction, should you introduce or summarize the article? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I introduce. Yeah, summarize it.
Yeah.
Article.
Yeah, that's actually, that's a good strategy, Yamna. That's a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll talk more about that tomorrow too.
Yeah, okay.
All right, good. So again, go ahead and do that welcome video when you get a chance. And if you have any problems, let me know, okay?
Okay.
All right, great. All right, I'll see you tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Okay, bye.
All right, have a good one.